We both facilitate. This isn't either one of our shows.
That's true.
I'm not claiming Chris helps me and I help him. So
I do not claim responsibility for this show. We are live. Go ahead, Dusty. Introduce everybody. Ha!
Wait, I thought it was your show. I'm confused now.
I
all
just,
right, I got you.
I just said I don't claim this one.
So welcome everybody to another episode of Surviving the Storm. I believe this is episode 4 for us, Chris. Is that right? 3 or 4?
3.
3. Okay.
At least I called it 3. I could be wrong.
It's either one. But we're appearing live on Facebook. We'll also post the show later here on YouTube, and then everybody's individual pages. I have Marcia from the Sock Drawer.
No, Dusty from the Sock Drawer.
Sorry, Dusty from the Sock Drawer. And I also have UA, the famous UA is on here.
Famous for being a pain in the ass.
Well, you know. And so we have UA appears on everybody's show and has his own podcast that's in the works. It should be coming out here in the relatively near future. And then, of course, we have Christopher Stoll, who's the creator of Realm of the Mist and After Hours. And what's the other shows you're a part of, Chris?
Too many. Breaking the Fourth Wall. Sometimes I appear on Press A Gaming. Sometimes I appear on It Had to Be Said with Venus. Sometimes I never appear on the Sock Drawer because, you know, nobody wants an unmatched pair of socks.
Actually, you've never said you would do it. If you say you'll do it, we'll have you on.
I've never been invited.
Well, you're invited.
Well, there you go. Maybe I'll appear on the Sock Drawer.
I think last night we laid a lot of groundwork to making sure that everybody's going to appear on everybody's show within the syndication.
Yep.
Over the next couple of weeks, I think everybody's going to do like a round robin, like mass appearance promotion, cross promotion kind of deal.
Yep.
So that way we can all reach out to a lot of people. Of course, Chris, you're part of that. UA will guest on a lot of the shows, and Zephyr and Anthony and everybody. So I mean, we've got a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up here from the network that we're trying to create as much content as possible in this time right now where everybody needs a good diversion. We don't want to talk about the elephant in the room, and we want to talk about something else. And this is a great way for everybody to hear a lot of different content, a lot of entertaining stories, meet some new personalities, and see us all interact with each other, and become quickly not strangers anymore. You know, that's kind of the idea.
Exactly.
Looking forward to it.
Well, maybe the ultimate way to handle that, when we were talking about it before, the ultimate way to handle that may be the fact that, you know, we are technically, you know, the way everybody could contact with each other, surviving the storm. I mean, this show, it doesn't hold a domain. So it can go on all of our broadcasts, all of our podcasts, all of our shows, all the attention we want to throw into it. And it's kind of a neutral territory for everybody. Everybody benefits, but nobody benefits over the other.
Well,
Exactly.
I also like the idea of everyone guest starring on everybody else's too.
No, absolutely. You know, and that was something that was always tried to be promoted within Realm of the Mist. If you're part of Realm of the Mist, you have an open invitation to any and all shows at all times. It's one of the guidelines of Realm of the Mist, and it's meant for promotion of camaraderie within the company. You know, and exposure for everybody to go to an audience that maybe wouldn't listen to your show necessarily, but they listen to mine, so now they know who you are, and maybe that'll generate interest to your show, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Love the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm totally on board with Rudder's idea on this. I think it's a superbous idea.
Superbus, outstanding.
Stuburbus. Hashtag Stuburbus.
Yeah. And it's a way for all of us, you know, just the ability for everybody to jump on and spend an hour and create like some really fast content that has good quality to it. You know, if there's 10 active shows, that means by default, if I have 10 people appear and I appear on 10 people's shows, that's 90 pieces of content I've put out there that we're all kind of, you know, cross promoting with each other. So it's just a lot that can go out fast. I think it'll do everybody a lot of good, and you know, plus it'll be fun.
I will warn people now. It seems to be an issue with Facebook Live connecting onto the show. However, we are live on YouTube. I just shared out the YouTube link to everybody.
Okay,
Oh,
then
cool.
I will pick that up right now.
Yep, I will do the same.
All right. So
Where
if we're
is it?
not
I see it.
appearing on the Realm of the Mist thing, I don't know what Restream is doing, but that's okay. There's a link to YouTube. Come talk to us there. Easy enough. Come talk to us there. We'll monitor the chat on that. Plus, again, we're on twitch.com. Twitch.tv/Realm of the Mist ENT. E-N-T. So you guys can find us live there and talk to us there as well. So, hey, yeah, we're all together. Now, what's the other thing I wanted to do? Oh, yeah, I'm going to add Keith in here. Because I'm an asshole. Because I'm an asshole.
No. Nah, the problem is that he just can't read 5 messages beforehand to answer the question that he asks now.
That's why I'm an asshole. I'm just going to drop him in on a live broadcast.
We should make it sound like we were talking about something completely weird.
I could do that. Hold on. I can make that happen.
Okay.
I can surely make that happen. If he decides to join the call.
Okay.
Okay, so while we're waiting on him to figure out what's going on, does anybody have any recent news or tech articles or anything that they wanted to discuss to get the conversation going?
Absolutely. I was at a strip club and I watched this girl just making ping pong balls pop out like the 4th of July. It was absolutely phenomenal. Oh, hi, Keith.
That was the video you sent.
Definitely a bad place to come in.
Chris, I love you.
I told you I could do it. All I had to do was wait for him to pop in.
Very well done, sir. Very
Thank
well
you.
done.
But no, seriously, I just did a live stream before dinner on YouTube, Twitch, and hopefully Facebook Messenger. Although again, I think we've been having issues with Restream on that. Where I was doing a live play of the original Final Fantasy 1, and we'll continue to do so.
Oh, wow.
And we'll continue to do so until I've defeated the game for the 20th time in my life.
Hey, that's still impressive, man.
That's
a classic.
Which will be celebrated by a stripper, with her legs in the air and sending out ping pong balls like fucking the 4th of July fireworks.
Oh, say, can you see?
Hey, you think we could do that with a dispenser in Minecraft?
Shoot out ping pong balls? No, because there's no ping pong balls in Minecraft. However, if you want to use fireworks, then I think we need to get Salem in on the project too.
I agree with you on that one. Just don't do it anywhere near me.
So that's about the farthest news I have at the particular moment to bring into the world. Anybody else?
News-wise for me, not really. I've been busy playing Persona 5 Royal for the last couple of days and just trying to get through this as far as I can before Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out on Friday.
That is true. It comes out Friday. I'm
so excited.
I've been locked in on Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and Doom Eternal. And
we were talking about Doom Eternal last night on Press A.
Yeah, well, I've been doing a blind let's play of it on Twitch.tv, which is also on the Sounds Dicey YouTube channel.
Nice.
So promote it, people. Go look up Sounds Dicey Gaming. Give us subscribe. Check out the Let's Plays. I don't do this for my health, although, quite honestly, if you don't watch, it's okay. I'm going to play the game anyway.
That's fair. I was doing. It wasn't.
Do we have to add Anthony?
It's up to you. I mean, if we get too many people, we crash. You know that.
No, it has nothing to do with too many people.
if
He's
you wanna add
always
Anthony,
trying
I
to
can pop
bring
out.
us down.
If you want to add Anthony, I can pop out. I'm just sitting here playing Animal Crossing.
No, it's fine. I'll add him
No,
in.
no, no.
He's a pain in
Now
the
you're
ass.
doing laundry.
Oh yeah, for the first time ever on a podcast, my wife's actually sitting right next to me.
Oh.
Hi!
Hi, doing laundry. It's so much fun.
Now, be honest. Be honest. I know your husband works in the Air Force, so you can answer this. Does his underwear have more skid marks than the tarmac at his base?
Well, I'm doing the baby's laundry right now, but no, when underpants get super gnarly, I throw them away.
Good.
Socks, underpants, and that goes for both
I-
of us.
I usually don't. I usually don't
They go
even
in the
notice
garbage.
they're gone.
That,
Nice enough to
that
replace them
sounds
right from the
100%
bed.
accurate.
So anyway, how about you, Rudder? Any exciting or adventurous news on your end?
Well, while all this is going on, before it started, I was a professional bartender, which means I was one of the first to become professionally unemployed. So unemployment for a bartender really, really sucks balls. So I took up a job at this liquor store. So yesterday, the governor announced this advanced quarantine thing where you can't even go into stores now. So we have to do curbside service. And today was our first day of doing that, where basically the customer comes up to the door, tells me what it is that they want. I shop through the store and find it, deliver it to them, collect the money, blah, blah, blah. It was probably the most irritating day I've ever had dealing with liquor sales ever in my fucking life. There's a lot of Friday or Saturday nights by 2 o'clock or whatever, you're getting close to last call, where people get really fucking dumb and irritating. But this is a whole nother level whenever you're dealing with the public, and then they find out you were a bartender. So they're like, oh yeah, give me that Absolute vodka. And then they're like, what's the best way to make a screwdriver? Or what's the best, and I'm like, GTS, Google that fucking shit, motherfucker. I did that for a living. I'm not giving you that information for free. I had 15 or 20 people today ask me for drink recipes. And I was like, you're out of your mind.
It's weird to me.
News or not, but I had to vent. It was a super stressful fucking day for it, man. I was really over it.
Well, that's
By the time I shipped,
that's really blowing me away because my state, they fucking right off the bat went prohibition and shut down all the bars, shut down all the liquor stores, all the beer distributors. The only people that are selling alcohol right now are fucking grocery stores that carry.
So the liquor stores are allowed to stay open here because it's considered essential, because Indiana's a really bad drinker state.
Well, New York State's the same way. Which is why we don't have Salem on the podcast. He actually is a beer distributor. So.
Gotcha. And so the mortality rate for people who are all day drinkers, not just the run of the mill drink a couple beers with your dinner people, but hardcore alcoholics, if you cut them off from alcohol, the mortality rate is super fucking high. So they consider liquor sales to be essential. So it's weird in one hand, and I'm thankful for it on the other, because I have a job that pays way more than what the unemployment rate would be for a bartender. But yeah, it's an aggravating aspect of the public that I didn't think I would have to do. Just sitting behind the counter and ringing shit up would be okay, but having to run around the store and find shit for them, and then you do a price check, and they're like, oh no, I only want a pint, not the half gallon or whatever. It's I had to tell 2 people today, come back fucking tomorrow. I am not fucking with you. Know how much I'm know how much money you have and know what you want. Don't I'm not playing the runaround game for you.
Nah, see, Rudder, you mentioned during the beginning of your rant that your last call is at 2 a.m. I'm really, really thankful that you don't live in Western New York, because our last call is 4 a.m.
Seriously, your last call is 4 o'clock in the morning?
4 o'clock in the morning.
Good God, my state sucks.
I was gonna say it's different because I'm in Central New York and it's 2 a.m. here too.
So we close the doors at 3 a.m., but we start last call. At 2 o'clock, you start letting everybody know, and we officially ring the bell at 2:45. But at 2 o'clock, it's like, go ahead and get your last rounds now, because everybody's going to be at the bar in the next half hour trying to get their last drink. But yeah, you're warming up for last call at 2 a.m. The 4 a.m. thing, one thing I would really hate is to be a bartender in New Orleans, because they really only closed for 1 hour a day.
Well, speaking of closing for 1 hour a day, we have Mr. Missouri himself, Mr. AKA Anthony. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
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 First time caller, long time listener.
So it's like, well, my name is Chad Johnson, and I'm from the West. And, I just want to say, you guys have a super great show. I mean, seriously, it really gets my wiles out. Especially being Mrs. Listed, it kind of makes us a little randy. So I just want to let you guys know, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, keep on making that great content. With that, I'm going to go ahead and put on the spandex suit and the leather ball. And I'm going to go have sex with my wife. See you later, guys.
Thank you very much for all that. But my name is Mike, and I'm with the Auto Health Insurance Plan. And how is your 401k? Would you like to give me the last 3 digits of your Social Security or your debit card on the back? Pay attention to me, you motherfucker!
I think you will more therapy at next time.
There's a lot of feedback or something. I can't understand.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, come at it. Nobody can hear you.
Fuck you, you motherfucker! I'm in complete silence, so not on my end.
Somebody doing Panic Fan or something? What the hell's going on?
It ain't me.
I don't know.
So-
Anyways.
Wait, buddy's on.
So anyway, good.
No, go on.
I was just going to ask Anthony if he got any news he'd like to bring to the table. We were bitching about bartending and curbside alcoholism. We were bitching about ping pong balls flying out like the 4th of July from stripper girls. And we were bitching about skid marks in underwear. So what you got?
What the fuck is going on? Because I feel like a lot of people are about to end the coronavirus that plan didn't we having. I'm serious. I have never seen so many thirst trap groups in my life. They're just like, oh my god, I really want to fuck somebody. I know it's a thirst trap, but at the same time, it's just like, some of y'all gonna end up pregnant. Committing sin and shit, you fucking sinners.
Oh, fuck that. You know for a fact 9 months from now, there's going to be a huge boom of fucking kids being born. Which means I'm never going to get to see a judge at for child support court.
I'm serious. Man, I already know how this is about to go. Dudes are going to be swinging dick like Putin tank around here. That's what's going to be happening. And, man, I'm talking about it's going to flood the Watergate. It's going to be the Waterloo of dick all over the whole line of the United States. Somebody, I can feel it in my veins. Somebody's pregnant right now. Boom.
Well, yeah, probably.
Josh, you have something to tell us?
I mean, I've got like 5 friends that are pregnant right now, but they were all pregnant before this went down.
Statistically speaking, you are correct.
If he means somebody in this chat room.
Not gonna happen to me.
I was about to say, Dusty, did you and Mr. AKA have a little too much of a good night after we got off the air last night?
Nope. I got fixed a long time ago. I ain't having no kids.
Wait. He lives in Missouri. She lives in New York. We be changing his nickname from Mr. AKA to Mr. AT&T. He reached out and touched somebody.
Family genes, that shit is possible.
We are terrible, terrible people, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Chimpanzees are terrible, terrible people. Aardvarks are terrible, terrible people.
Why are we talking about aardvarks and chimpanzees and
Because they make terrible people.
Did you go to the zoo recently?
Yeah, I went to the zoo during the coronavirus. Actually, that's something I want to ask everybody. And I know we wanted to stay off the subject of COVID-19, but it's fucking me up to something I thought about the other day, and I haven't had a chance to ask anybody about this. Do animals get this shit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tigers just got it in a zoo, actually.
And they can transmit it to us as well.
There's a tiger.
Actually, the transmission to us, they disproven.
They're concerned that it might have been contaminated to the tiger, though. More testing was needed.
Exactly. It's
So
up in the air right
possible
now.
that the tiger didn't actually have it, that a handler had it and contaminated the test by accident. They're not
That's
sure.
what they're thinking.
Ah, okay.
So
There's three people who died in California and San Francisco who had house pets, 2 cats and a dog, and the two cats tested positive for having corona, and so did the dog. And their owners died from COVID-19. So they're thinking,
But is it the Corona 19? Because the animals have been getting Corona for a long time, but it's not 19. It's a different one.
no, it's the 19 strain. They have a test for that for animals now. Yeah, there's 3 confirmed cases of that in California.
Oh, I
I
got
got a question.
good. I'm sorry.
What the fuck are these people doing to these animals?
Breathing on them, technically.
Well, I was going to say, I would like to think that they're not being intentional with getting anyone contaminated in any capacity, whether it's human or animal. So
Yeah, my cat sits in my lap, and if I sneeze, basically sneezing on it, and he would have, corona. So, I mean, that's really all it takes.
I mean, I'm just making sure, nothing like freaky deaky going on with the damn animal. Like some bullshit.
Put you a new.
Well, I mean,
I could just
cricket.
Some good old fashioned tiger pussy.
well, all I got to say is this:
Oh,
there's some people in social media, and since we're broadcasting on social media, so I got to say it. Some of y'all people need to lighten the fuck up when it comes to this shit. I got blasted the other day for a meme that I shared that I thought was funny. Because I knew, and the reason I thought it was funny is because I knew it was going to crawl under people's skins. Okay, and the meme was calling COVID-19, basically saying that COVID-19 stood for Chinese virus something or other. Somehow it broke down to China. I thought it was funny because I knew the reaction I was going to get.
If I remember the meme correctly, you posted the one you posted. It said it meant for Chinese originated viral infectious disease.
Right, something like that. And I posted it knowing it was going to crawl under some people's skin. I knew it. I know damn right well that COVID-19 didn't stand for that. You know what I mean? But and of course, look at the source of where it came from. You knew damn right well it wasn't legitimate. But the people's response, like, seriously, get a fucking life. You know what I mean?
I just want to say right now, y'all know by now, Christopher Stawley is one of the biggest trolls in the group of Realm of the Mist.
I love instigating people. I love fucking with the ignorant. I love fucking with the ignorant.
Oh, believe me, we know.
The problem I have with memes like that going around that are deliberately spreading misinformation is we have racists out there that are looking for anything to confirm their bias and prove them right.
Well, here's
when misinformation like that spreads.
That's not my fault. If you're looking for anything to add fuel to the fire, and you're looking for some sort of legitimacy to add fuel to the fire, the last place in the world you should be looking for that legitimacy is fucking Facebook.
Yeah. No, what I prefer.
And yet they still look for it then. No,
I'm kind of with Chris.
The best way to avoid it is to not fucking spread it.
Yeah, no, that's cancellation. That's the cancellation ideology that's going around.
It's like COVID-19. The best defense is to not fucking spread it.
The only thing you should be spreading is some cheeks.
No, but I agree with Chris. That's a no disrespect, but that's a cancellation mentality. That's saying because of the fact that somebody else can't handle somebody can't handle what I'm gonna say, I should censor what I could. The best quote I could ever give, because I have an extreme hatred for censorship. I've always had an extreme hatred for censorship since I was a musician. In the '90s. And the greatest quote of all time is by Mark Twain. Censorship is telling a man he can't have a steak because a baby can't chew it. If you can't chew the fucking steak, fuck you. I'm still eating my filet mignon. I don't give a shit about you.
I'm gonna say this though, Chris. In just the way, sometimes you also gotta realize you also gotta use wisdom at a time when it's appropriate. So, let me put it like this though. I'm not saying that you don't have a right to say what you want to say, but there always is going to be consequences to anything anybody says. I mean, look at Ari Shaffir after the Kobe the helicopter crash. That was fucked up.
But again,
I mean, at the same time, it's fucking Ari Shaffir. It doesn't surprise me he said some shit like this. This is the same guy who did The Amazing Racist.
But again, every person individually, a person is only responsible for what they said. I am not responsible for what you understand or what feelings you took from what I said.
I mean, you knew it was going to cause controversy, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. Right?
That was the point.
I get the joke. I get the fucking joke.
That was the point. I got the reaction I wanted. I don't care.
I mean, that's it. That's the case and shit. Let everybody be butthurt then.
That's it. Yeah. And the reason I wanted that reaction is so I can come onto a show like Surviving the Storm and turn around and say, grow the fuck up, people. You got trolled for no reason. None.
I'm a quote Meatwad from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I get it. I ain't laughing, but I get it.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I get it.
I don't care. I thought it was funny.
It's kind of titillating, but I get it.
Fucking Meatwad.
A little titillating.
So either way, the point still stands. People, get a life. Get a life. Quit looking to try to flex your internet superiority complex. Is somebody pissing on the stream?
No, that's me filling a water bottle.
Okay.
I'm about to say, that's a first. We just whipping dicks out and everything.
Well, I mean, the cameras aren't on, so you wouldn't know except for the audio, and it just so happens that that's what the audio sounded like. I apologize. No, I was refilling my water bottle.
Well, I was about to say, you're doing the show me mine, and I'll show you your situation. I mean...
Well, again, that's no fair. Yours could be seen from fucking other states if you laid down.
Oh my god.
Is that the space shuttle going up?
That's all I want. That's like that thing with Austin Powers and all the odds were. It's like, do you see that? That spaceship looks like a giant
Johnson.
I enjoyed Austin Powers.
Who didn't enjoy Austin Powers? I would love a fourth. Like there's a conversation we can get into, and I know Rudder will want to get into it. Should there be a fourth Austin Powers? Like, is it a missed opportunity with as good as the trilogy was?
No, I think they cut it off exactly where they needed to cut it off.
They did cut it off in a good place, and as far as the way that Myers was writing everything, the problem with adding a fourth is that it automatically demands another trilogy, and I don't think there's enough source material for it, so it would be like a one-off, and it wouldn't have as much weight just because of that. And it's not like it's a cinematic masterpiece or anything, but it is a comedic masterpiece, and if you're not going to do it in the right way, then why do it at all? I think is where Mike Myers is with it. He's in a place in his career where he's not going to devote that much brain power and writing time to laying down the next trilogy of Austin Powers. But it would be awesome to see a standalone. It's just that it would leave the room to have another one, which automatically dictates that you have to have another one. I think that's why they haven't done it. Because it's been 20 years almost since the last one. 15. So
yeah, it has been a while.
That long since the Rob Zombie one? Shit. I'm old as fuck.
Rob Zombie won what?
What is he?
The Rob Zombie Halloween.
We're talking about Austin Powers.
I'm confused.
I know we're talking about Halloween.
No, we're talking about Austin.
He heard Michael Myers and thought the fucking horror movie.
Oh, I understand.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I get you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you played D&D
Fair enough.
lately?
There's his redemption.
I had to think about it for a second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just saw Lance Archer kill a guy. My apologies.
Yeah, anyways, but sorry, Anthony, I left you in the
alone.
dark.
I distinctly remember a movie or a TV show having a bank robbery, and one of the characters was supposed to go out and buy Michael Myers masks. And they were expecting the Halloween movie masks, and he showed up with a bunch of Michael Myers as Austin Powers masks.
The bank job, is that the one you're talking about?
I forget what the fucking movie it was, but they
I think
the
it is.
entire
It's either
crew
the Tower
got mad at
Heist
him.
or the bank job. But yeah, that's fucking hysterical, right?
The entire crew got fucking pissed at him because he showed up with the wrong mask.
That's
a mask is a mask, fuck it. But it was funny, though. I know which movie you're talking about. I think it was the Tower Heist is the one that they did that in, I think.
Everybody else was wearing the fucking Halloween mask. He shows up with fucking Austin Powers.
That is funny.
It was a great thing again.
So yeah, it's been a while since the last Halloween one too, but they are working on a new one, aren't they? Another one with Jamie Lee Curtis, if I'm not mistaken.
So the last one that came out, which was 3 years ago, they are in writing and production. I don't know what's going on now, obviously, but that was actually in pre-production and they were finalizing everything. But she has signed a contract to do the new one, along with a couple of other characters from the last movie or the last installment of it. So that is definitely going to be something. They were originally planning on 2021 Halloween, that one coming out. Obviously, the situation currently is probably going to push it back, but like it might be a 2022 release. But that's definitely, they are doing it.
I just realized how bad this is actually affecting movie releases and shit.
Actually,
affecting everything.
From what I've been hearing, AMC Theaters is closing, like permanently.
Oh God.
No.
Oh God, really?
Yeah. So if you look at what's going on right now, this is something that I did want to talk about.
That's gonna be a huge
as far as the subject goes. But look at, there's several institutions or business institutions that our country is going to lose during all of this. And the first and foremost is going to be cruise ships. Cruise lines, there's not going to be fucking 50 different cruise lines out there. There's going to be one or two, and that's going to be it. Like Disney and the Princess line or whatever, that's going to be it.
So,
and then the other one is going to be movie theaters. Look at all of the studios that are circumventing the theaters being closed down now, and they're just releasing to stream. And they're charging a premium for it. So that means, 6 months from now, we're all going to be paying $15.99 a month for Netflix. But you're going to get everything released straight to your living room. That's definitely going to be something that happens. Like if your town has a $3 cheap Saturday night movie theater or whatever, like we have one here, if you have that, that's going to be the only way, like really, you're going to be able to go to the movies probably in the next year. Like theaters are going to be a thing of the past. And that's something that this pandemic has actually kind of shuttered in. That was probably 10 years out without the corona going on, and it's something that corona is basically just forcing it to happen ahead of its time. But the technology is just too much.
So this episode is going to be about coronavirus?
No.
Not necessarily.
Because I'm out if it is. I've had too much
It's
of
about
it.
getting money and getting women pregnant. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Honestly, one of the things I'm hoping that happens with all this will be the last thing I'll say about it. I'm hoping drive-through theaters come back.
That would be a nice thing.
The drive-ins, yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. That takes me back, man.
Ours closed 2 years ago, and they built a car lot on it. I hate it.
Boo.
We still got one here in Buffalo.
I'm not driving.
Yeah.
I'm not driving that many hours to go to a drive-in. Sorry.
Hey, yeah, I'm going to say this, though, man. That used to be the shit, though. See, my aunt and also my cousins and stuff like that. My aunt and uncle had this big-ass, like, basically camping van that also could be a murder van. But like, what we would do is we would just like hide out and shit like that in the back, right? And they were only paid for 2, and we would just hop out and motherfuckers be on the roof and shit. We'd be out on the side and shit, just watching movies and shit. I remember I saw the second Matrix at the movie, at the drive-in and shit. That used to be, man, you could get like 2 movies for the price of 1 and shit. That was so back in the day.
Well, you're speaking on why places like movie theaters closed down. It's very stereotype and cliche, and I apologize in advance for anybody it may offend. But I mean, think of like the landscaping Mexicans that show up in a Ford Ranger and 15 of them pop out.
Oh, man, plenty of white folks do it too. Y'all just as ratchet.
See, that's one thing about our drive-in that just closed a couple years ago. It was not per person; it was just you paid per car.
That's a smart way to do it, but I'm saying a lot of them did per person. They still try to sell individual tickets, and like Anthony is describing, you clown car a van or something like that, and people are like, oh, you only got 2 people, go ahead, you're good to go, and then you're popping out lawn chairs and blankets on top of the roof, and you've got 3 generations of family popping out of this van to watch a movie for free.
But at the same time, you got to realize, Chris, motherfuckers have been doing that since the dawn of time.
And that's why
And that's why they're gone.
That's why they went under. That's the point.
Probably done that shit too, Chris. Come on.
No, actually, believe it or not, I've never been to a drive-in.
What the hell is wrong?
Really?
You're so un-American right now. I'm ashamed of you.
I saw the first 3 Star Wars movies in a drive-in.
I saw all of them in the theater, but I'd never been to a drive-in.
My family couldn't afford a theater. We had to go to the drive-in.
You need to be beaten.
Well, hold on a second, Anthony. I if this isn't true, Chris, then shut me down real quickly.
Okay.
But in his defense, drive-ins are not readily available in every major or even minor town in continental USA. When they were at their heyday, they were spaced out relatively far, and I mean it wasn't readily available for everyone. So maybe drive-ins wasn't something that was in the proximity for him growing up.
That's pretty much accurate. I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, but it's still city proper, and there's, quite honestly, I mean, people who live in New York City could probably attest to this. There's just no space for it.
Well,
I can see that.
Fair enough.
You're not wide open like the Midwest. That's
right.
Okay. I mean, when it comes down to it, we had that opportunity just because of the fact, we had like 2 drive-ins at one point back in the day.
When I was a kid, within 30 minutes there was 4. So you just picked which one
When
you
I
went
was
to.
growing up, there wasn't anywhere near us. The nearest one was at my grandparents, a whole state away.
Drive-in or just movie theater?
Drive-in movie theater.
I think that's the same situation for me growing up. I think the closest one at the time, and I could be completely wrong on this. I may have to actually call my mother on this one just to confirm for like next show or something. But I think it might have been like central New Jersey. Like I would have to travel not only another state, but damn near halfway through the state to go see a movie.
Damn.
Yeah, so.
And I mean, having lived in Western New York my whole life, I could tell you that I was fortunate. There were 2 drive-ins less than 20 miles apart from each other. But outside of that, the next closest one that I can think of is near the New York-Pennsylvania state line, an hour plus away from me.
That's funny. When my job came back for a week, I did a couple jobs up at that border. I was in Sussex, North Jersey.
Okay.
Sussex County, doing work. I was I could have spit on you. Like that's how close I was.
Thank you for not.
You're welcome.
Nobody wants to spread a Chernobyl, sir. Stop it.
Didn't we already have this conversation on After Hours? The Chernobyl joke didn't land.
The Chernobyl joke landed there.
Jersey.
But your atomic loogie,
It's not anywhere near them.
that would end civilization. Don't do it.
Oh, Jesus. Please, Rudder, get this back under control.
Why? Where's the fun in that?
Exactly. Thank you. Oh man. Oh, I see my beat.
Actually,
It's funny. It's funny how in a lot of areas of the country, the drive-in is actually like a staple of life. You know, growing up, if you're a child of the 70s or 80s or early 90s, and then in some parts of the country, it's completely non-existent. It seemed really prevalent in the Midwest, where me and Anthony are from, but on the East Coast, it just seems like it's really scattered out. Like UA, you're up in northern New York, and Chris, you're in western Pennsylvania, and so you guys
I'm in
have
eastern Pennsylvania.
Eastern Pennsylvania, but you have two totally different dynamics going on with something.
We're not northern New York. We're western New York.
Whatever, man. Fuck geography. Wherever
and that's why I kept my mouth shut.
And that's why I'm Central New York.
Fuck, but wherever you are, East Coast compared to the Midwest, like something that's considered to be a national institution or a national pastime is like completely absent from some of your lives and completely prevalent in some of our lives. Like that's a really weird thing that like the drive-in theater is considered to be as American as apple pie or baseball. But there's some areas of the country it was non-existent.
You're not wrong too, because I mean you look back to say 80s movies. Let's first movie that pops into my head right off the bat is Explorers. Where drive-in theaters were very predominant for a Friday night deal for teenagers to go see some cheesy sci-fi flick or whatever, or even if you want to go past the 80s, we can go into like a movie like Twister, where it seemed like that Kansas had a bunch of them. You know what I mean? And
a ton of the 80s movies, the bad ones, had makeout sessions all the time at those places.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the movie Twister because I got a little bit of trivia from that of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
Graduated from the same high school I did.
Well, that explains a lot.
You know what?
It's funny because like it's an important thing that like everybody who goes to Fairport High School learns about, like through either the teachers that work there or talking to people who've been in Fairport for like their entire lives, is like, oh yeah, we had this famous Hollywood actor go to our school. Doesn't mean shit now.
I had when I was a teenager, I was drunk off my ass in Center City, Philadelphia, and I ran into this short little fucking mean fucker. And when I say I ran into him, like I was, I had my headphones on and I was jamming out to some fucking Nine Inch Nails, and I was looking down at the ground. I wasn't paying attention, and I literally plowed into this guy, and he knocked me on my ass because he's solid as a fucking brick. And I looked up, and I see this bald dude who turns around and tells me to watch where the fuck I'm going and walks on. And I'm thinking, asshole, and I, get up and walk away, and then my drunken, addled brain realized to need to turn around because I realized it was fucking Bruce Willis, and it was during the filming of The Sixth Sense.
Oh, man. I got a story like that from when I was on a trip for the Air Force. One of the stops we did was in St. John's, Newfoundland.
All right.
And there is a band that I was a big fan of called Great Big Sea. You guys might not have heard of them or anything, but I have. Well, yeah, you have. But I don't know if Chris has ever heard of Great Big Sea. I don't think he's into that whole folksy Irish.
No, I don't know
music. But they're a folksy music group, or they were, I should say. They broke up a while ago. But I'm a big fan of the lead singer, Alan Doyle. And what I didn't know is that Alan Doyle is specifically from St. John's. I knew he was Canadian. I didn't know he was from St. John's. And so we were holed up in this hotel the same week as they have this big music festival in St. John's. It's called the George Street Music Festival. And so...
Wait a minute, the Air Force gets put in hotels?
Yeah.
Fucking Air Force.
That's why we're the smart branch.
It's not called the Air Force. It's called the Chair Force.
Okay.
Hey,
Keep
now.
going. Keep
Hey,
going.
now.
Most of my friends are jarheads, so
Only
that blew my
only
mind for a
members
second.
Only members of other branches get to make the Chair Force joke. Anyway,
Moving on.
Brown shoes.
but I got out of my hotel room, got in the elevator, went down, and I stepped off the elevator. The guy I was in the elevator with, I remember having this thought of like, that guy looks kind of familiar, but he probably just kind of looks like some actor that I've seen before. And yeah, it's no big deal. I walk out of the elevator, I step out of it ahead of him, and he sees somebody that he knows in the hotel lobby, and he speaks to them. And the second he spoke from behind my back, I come to the realization of, fuck me, that's Alan Doyle. That's why I recognized him.
Oh, there you go.
I almost got into
music videos.
I almost got into a fight with Serge from System of a Down, the lead singer of System of a Down. I almost got into a fist
How
fight
the hell
with
did you
him.
get a fight with Serge?
Because I walked up to the autograph table where they were signing autographs at Ozfest 98 and told him that his band straight up fucking sucks.
Well, that'll do it.
His band fucking sucks! Yes, they do!
Like Chris.
Yes, they do. And I got dared by my lead guitarist at the time to oh, you think they suck? I dare you to go up and tell them. I said, all right. First off, I'm drunk as shit. Like I'm not going to do it. You know?
Are any of your stories sober, Chris?
Now, yes. Back
Well,
then,
they
no.
they do have a few more Ozfest appearance credits than you do.
Oh.
No, that's incorrect. I've got more Ozfest appearances than they do. I just don't have stage appearances.
Damn.
And T-shirts.
Listen, getting thrown out of Ozfest for drunken disorderly conduct does not count as an appearance.
Hey, look, I will say this much, too. It's not the first time I ever told somebody famous that they fucking blow ass. My band, No Remorse, was in a Battle of the Bands in Allentown, PA, many, many, many years ago. And there was another band on there that was actually really, really good. I had no issue with the band whatsoever, but their lead vocalist was a complete dick. So he comes off a stage, and you know, the band comes off, and my band's getting ready to go on next, and I'm like, dude, great set, you guys did great. And he's like, yeah, let's see if you could do better. I'm like, you fucking dick. Long story short, we won the Battle of the Bands that night. We got 5-hour studio time and shit like that. But the ultimate laugh is the other band, because the other band was fucking live. They got the record deal.
Then.
I got 5 hours of studio time at some fucking generic fucking studio.
Oh, ouch.
Who got the last laugh, you know?
Oh, ouch.
Man, why are you so angry, Chris?
Because I have no problem telling somebody that what they need to hear. I don't blow smoke up their ass. If you suck, you suck.
Look. At the same time, I love Serge's voice. I don't understand why you think he blows ass.
I don't have a problem with Serge's voice. I have a problem with the band's music. The band's music is so generically basic. It is so generically basic. I don't understand how this band got a record deal. Like, my 5-year-old, well, they're 10 now, but my 5-year-old can make the same sounds playing one string on a guitar.
I'm going to disagree with you, sir. I don't know why you got to be so mean.
Well,
Speaking of one string on the, of one string on the guitar, and I don't know how they got a record deal. I saw Kid perform live in concert, and I saw Gene Simmons break 3 strings on his axe, and the bass beat kept going. So my question is, you can't talk about a more world famous band that at the end of the day, like, do you really have to have a backup track to make sure your set goes off right? Come on, man. Like, are you really a legit musician or not? And so that was the answer to my question. That was the last time I ever saw them. Ted Nugent was on the show. He was awesome. But after seeing Gene Simmons do that, I was like, no, these guys are complete posers, man. Fuck them.
Well, you're not wrong, and I mean, I can't speak for like 3 guitar or 3 strings, but I mean, first off, don't you have backup axes? Like, But look at Metallica. I hate to use them as an
Like,
example,
don't you
but
have
Metallica's got like 15
Don't you
guitars
have a
each
space
person
tech guy? Yeah.
in backup waiting.
Well, that's because they're fucking Metallica.
And if you don't have that many guitars or whatever in background, and I'm definitely not trying to compare myself to somebody like Kiss, but like in Disillusion Purity, My Rhythm Guitars, first song breaks the low E string, broke it. We don't have time to fucking replace the string or anything else. He just stepped up an octave and used the other 5 strings and kept with the rest of the band for the rest of the set. Like you figure it out. You figure it the fuck out. That's what the show must go on. You know, so yeah, I'm right there with Rudder. It's like if you can't figure out how to at least give a basic bass line with that one string left to finish the set, and you don't have a backup axe, then what are you doing in a band? That's the bassist.
And unfortunately, after it happened to me, I talked to a lot of people, and like that wasn't the only instance of something like that happening with them. And, I lost a lot of respect for those guys. And this is, Kiss is what it is, but the Kiss Army has millions and millions and millions of diehard people in it, and they completely look past that because they're so enamored with being at the show and seeing Kiss. So they miss some of these technical things. And it's like if you actually were to kind of hit pause and look at what's really going on to see how overproduced it is and all this shit, and they're basically fucking lip syncing. Like, we completely killed Milli Vanilli back in the 80s because of that. And these cocksuckers get to keep going?
Well,
and I say Milli Vanilli's for defense. They actually could sing.
Hey,
no, they couldn't. No, they could not. They proved that. They could not.
There are some groups out there that have cult followings that you really don't understand why they have cult followings or why they have a huge group of people. I mean, just look at Insane Clown Posse.
Hey, fuck you.
Hey, they're not the greatest rappers ever, but I give them credit because of the fact they made such a crazy ass fan base.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Insane Clown Posse, and this is the God's honest truth. Their popularity is the fact that it's not that they're rappers or that they're musicians. They know they're not. But that's the point. Their whole entire thing is a gimmick. And they don't hide the fact that it's a gimmick. And the people appreciate the fact that they don't hide the fact that it's a gimmick.
Here's something to talk about, and this might be something with me and Stoley being on the show here together that might really go off the rails, but a lot of people consider jazz to be the great American art form. I disagree. I think kayfabe is the great American art form.
Kayfabe?
I have a point.
Absolutely.
What's kayfabe? I don't even know what that
Kayfabe is the art of the showmanship that goes into wrestling where everybody knows it's a work, but we pretend that it's not. We suspend our disbelief to allow ourselves to be bought into the show. That's what kayfabe is. Back in the day, good guy wrestlers and bad guy wrestlers, you would never see them at fucking Denny's together because kayfabe had to live on. The show had to go on. So whenever they appeared in the next town, none of the fans could say, "Oh, I saw Stone Cold and fucking Triple H eating at a restaurant together." So that's what.
Yeah, that would have caused a riot.
That's what kayfabe is, and that is an American institution that comes around from sideshows and the circuses, and very prominent through the wrestling industry. But I think that kayfabe is something that is practiced in politics, practiced in show business. ICP is a great example of that, and this is something that isn't given credit. That one of the truest American art forms ever that has lasted for not just a few years, literally hundreds of years. Sideshows were going on before the Declaration of Independence in America, and kayfabe was alive then, and it's still going on today. I think that's the real American art form, not fucking jazz. That's just a bunch of guys getting out there playing out of tune and out of rhythm together. Fuck that.
No. I agree with you, but I won't disrespect jazz. I got a lot of love for jazz. There's a lot of dynamics within jazz that you just can't ignore, and I think you have to have a trained ear for it. But you're absolutely correct on the kayfabe aspect. And for anybody listening that may not understand what he's talking about with breaking it down, the ultimate example of kayfabe that I can give somebody is Sandman from ECW. during the time where he was supposed to be burned in the eyes. Like he was supposed to be blinded from a burn to the eyes. It was a work. We all knew it was a work. But he was so devoted to the gimmick, he did not leave his house for 3 weeks. He would not answer the door without or go anywhere without the fucking blind patch on and having somebody like leading him. Like if he had to go to the fucking grocery store or something like that.
It's funny that
lived the
you bring
gimmick
up,
24/7 until they finally revealed that it was a work 3 weeks later.
And so that's the beginning of like the death of kayfabe to an extent. But what you're talking about, like in Memphis wrestling, with Lawler and Austin Idol and Jimmy Garnett and all those guys lived and breathed that 24 hours a day, 365.
Mm-hmm.
The work was always going on, and there was never a letting it out of the bag of the gimmick. Like that person would never come back and work in the territory if they ever talked about it or let on or whatever. You know, the Sandman thing is kind of at the end of when kayfabe really started to weaken because the internet was coming around and you were starting to get some smarks out there, you know, the smart marks and whatnot. But, you know, if you look back at like 80s wrestling, Georgia wrestling, Mid-South wrestling, Memphis wrestling, even WWE in the early 80s at the very least, they carried kayfabe to a huge extreme. Like you wouldn't, unless you were like actually a smart mark, you would have no idea. Like you would always be guessing or arguing with your friends. Like the typical bar argument would always be, "That's not real. Fuck you. Let me body slam you on this floor, and you tell me how not real it is."
All right, if you want a mainstream idea of it that you could probably find on YouTube, just look up fucking Geraldo Guerrera.
Dr. David Schultz. Yeah.
Geraldo Rivera, excuse me. Geraldo Rivera interviewing Sid Vicious. Or no, it wasn't Sid Vicious. It was Harley.
One is even better.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't Sid Vicious. It was that guy, and he had the nerve to accidentally, like Geraldo wasn't even trying to instigate the guy. He just turned around and said, you know, inadvertently called it fake, and he got his ass completely handed to him for it.
Yeah, Schmaltz open-handed smacked him in the ear and knocked him down. Like he did it 2 or 3 times. Like as soon as he got up and looked him in the eyes, he knocked him down again and said, "Tell me how fucking fake that is, punk." You know? That's
oh wow.
And during
I do want to say something too. Like with some, I'll say even in this newer generation, there's still guys that still hold it. I'm not saying it's everybody, but of course, you know the magic of the like behind the curtains has been revealed and all that. But I got to give people like MJF and Dean Ambrose credit because they've actually kept the kayfabe kind of going on their characters. Like for instance, Dean Ambrose did like an old school. You remember when Dusty Rhodes got stabbed in the eye by the Road Warriors? When they had about the trios titles and everything.
Yeah, whenever they had the 6-man tag titles going on. Yep.
Yeah. So what happened was Dean Ambrose was in a feud with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had a spike jacket. He took one of the spikes out, stabbed Ambrose with not Ambrose, but Jon Moxley with it. Jon Moxley for a whole fucking mob, and this is him going to independent shows and going to Japan, still had the damn eye patch on.
Yeah, he's playing the work, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh yeah,
always a fucking character.
And you hit one nail right on the head, and Rudder could attest to this. The idea of kayfabe within professional wrestling, and I'm sure Dusty and Josh can back me on this because even though they don't work in the business, they know people who do. The independent circuit still believes in kayfabe.
Yes.
We
all the time.
Keeps them going.
100%.
The reason they're able to flip the finger to Vince McMahon and stay alive is because they.
Well, and just real quickly, Chris, you can also throw Zephyr into that mix too, because he and I both have a mutual friend who worked the Indies in Maryland, so we know that side of the coin as well. So
okay,
you're 100%
well,
correct. A lot of the
fair
Indies,
enough.
if not all of them, still believe and still work kayfabe, and you know. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. That's something that I actually dreadfully miss off of these big companies like WWE. Maybe not so much AEW, but Ring of Honor, TNA. They let it go by the wayside, and it kind of loses something when you do that.
I'll give a perfect example. I'll give a perfect example from my own career for this. I had a huge fan out in Colorado, a little 8-year-old girl. she absolutely loved the character of the East Coast Kid, Matt Wild. And I mean, to the point that, you know, when I came out to the ring and she was in the front row, I'd always give her a hug. Or if I had fucking St. Patrick's Day beads or one of those silly fucking like Cat in the Hat hats on, I'd fucking give it to her. Like, she loved the East Coast Kid, Matt Wild. Right? She was my number one fan. One show she was at, I got double booked. I had to do not only the East Coast Kid, Matt Wild, but my alternate gimmick, which is a gothic vampire in black and white face paint. Total asshole. His name was the 13th Apostle, Christian Draconis. And I had to do it separately.
Anybody who's worked in the business,
I had to do the
anybody
gimmick.
who's worked in the business has had to work a double book, but that's such bad booking.
It is bad booking, but I was pretty decent on hiding the different characters. Like, I learned how to make Christian Draconis walk different, talk different, move different. You know what I mean? So unless you looked at me closely, you didn't know it was me. And of course, the face paint, I would spray in like black hairspray that washes right out. You know, to make my hair black, and you know, like anything I could do to disguise myself. As the Apostle, I did. She saw right the fuck through it. Like, she totally did. Like, Matt Wild came out, slapping hands. Actually, the Apostle was first, and then Wild had to perform later. So the Apostle came out, and she's trying, hey, Matt Wild, trying to slap my hand, and I just, you know, I glare at her and walk on. And she was crying. She was devastated. Right?
Oh,
because Matt Wild wouldn't fucking slap her hand and shit. And her mother snuck to the curtain of the backstage area and asked for me. And I'm in the bathroom after the match, and I'm like fucking cleaning the shit off, getting ready for to be Matt Wild and do like my other match. And I get called over to the curtain, and I'm told that her mother's there, and her mom's like, "Can you come out and talk to her? She's so devastated you wouldn't talk to her." I said, "It's because I was a different character." And the mom's like, "Oh, but she doesn't understand that. Is there any way you could fix this?" I said, "You know what? Go back and comfort her. I'll take care of it." And so I rush back. I get cleaned up. I wash my hair out, right? I don't get dressed into the Matt Wild gear. I get dressed into street gear. And I throw all my stuff into the bag. And I sneak out the back door of the arena and run all the way the fuck around the building and come in the front door carrying my gear, because Matt Wild's from Philadelphia. We're in Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. I just got off the fucking plane and just showed up to the show. I had to play that off, so she would believe that the Apostle and Matt Wild were two completely different people.
Nicely done.
That is really good, Chris. I ain't gonna sit here and lie, man. That's fucking awesome. That's fucking awesome.
But that's what you do in the independent circuit to try even for that one fan. Even for that one fan, you'll go to those lengths.
Yeah, the one person you know that is a butt in the seat. The one person you know that's a butt in the seat next week, you have to make sure that you're not the one who tells them Santa Claus ain't real. You can't be that guy. And so you have to keep the work going. And, yeah, that's a good job, man.
The words of Vince McMahon, that is some good shit.
Just to run back into the back again and put my gear back on.
That is some good shit.
Hey, man, that's a little thing called dedication, and even though you had to go the extra mile on that, it was an extra mile well done, dude. I applaud that greatly.
But it's what you got to do, and you know what? Again, just like Rudder was saying, it's a lost art, because I don't think a lot of this generation of independent people, or wrestlers in general, I especially don't think anybody in the WWE or fucking AEW will do it. But I too many people now believe their own gimmicks, believe their own bullshit, that they wouldn't go that extra mile for one 8-year-old kid.
You know, with the exception of Moxley and Jericho and Dustin and Cody, you're probably 100% right. But those four, they get it because they grew up that way.
Right.
And Jericho is very much a product of his own headlines and press clippings, and he's capitalizing on that in the right way right now to make himself look like such a pretentious jerk, which he's done 3 or 4 other times during his career. But those are the 4 that could definitely carry kayfabe. It's the other 96 guys on the roster who don't give them the opportunity to do it because they don't participate or understand how kayfabe works.
I don't know. I would also give it to Darby Allin. I mean, he's a younger kid, but him following around them and everything, I think has really helped him up his game because nobody really knows what he's like on the outside of pro wrestling. I know he used to be like a skater or something like that, but like he's so into his character, you're just like he's so fucking mysterious. Like he's always got the damn face paint on, even when he's not working.
Yeah, he's always living his gimmick. He's doing it 24/7, and that's what it takes. That's the character who always gets over. That's the character who always has a long career in the promotion, or the guy who's able to get the clout backstage to be able to get the strap and headline some shows. It's always that guy who's always lived it because everybody else in the locker room has to give the guy fucking respect. You can't doubt that guy because he lives his character. Those are the guys who always go over in the long run. If he's in it for 10 years, he's going to become another household name. Right now, he's doing the right thing. He's laying the groundwork and he's living that character. And, he's definitely got all the potential in the world, but time will tell. If they let him keep that character and let him keep living it for another 5 years, he's going to be as big as, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say anything crazy, but he's going to be as big as a lot of people have ever been, just because he's living it that way.
He has the potential to be the next Sting.
Well, the thing is I think one of the big points that Rudder's saying, and I agree with, and I tried to have it in my own career as minor as my career was to everybody else's, and I've seen this with a lot of people who break into the business. They give themselves a gimmick, or they're given a gimmick that has, for lack of a better term, it has a shelf life. There's only so much growth and expansion you can give that character or that gimmick before it becomes stale. And I think longevity
becomes transparent. Yeah.
I think longevity in the wrestling career, to use my own career as an example, I played outside of the 13th Apostle, which was just an alternate gimmick. I played Matt Wild for all 20 of the years I was in the business. His name changed up a little bit. His personality changed up a little bit here or there. He evolved throughout his career, but he was the same character for 20 years. And that was why, because he was able to evolve. His story was able to change. Too many people come up with a gimmick like, I'm the Terminator. Okay.
You're not kidding. Our local guys have a guy that's basically the Trump supporter. It's like, how much are they going to get out of this?
Oh, they're doing the Kobe Covington thing. There's a guy in UFC who's doing that. They're just kind of copying off of him a little bit.
Yeah, he comes in with the Magna hat. His face is orange, and it's like, it's getting old.
and it's going to kill his career.
That's too topical of a character. Yeah, that won't last long. But he might be able to get some. He might be able to get some box office out of it for a little bit.
And that's my point. Is that if you want a elongated career, nobody's going to remember Chris Rudder. Nobody's going to remember Christopher Stolle. They're going to remember the gimmicks we were. In the wrestling world. So if you want that memory and you want that longevity, you have to create a persona that has the ability to change and evolve with the times. And if you don't,
and it has to be close to the bone as well. All the characters who have had the real long career and the epic storylines and everything, they're playing someone who's so close to the bone that it's not second nature anymore. It's just who they are. They turn it on when the cameras are on. They turn the volume up to 10. But Ric Flair is always fucking Ric Flair. Jerry Lawler is always Jerry Lawler.
Right, but at the same time, Mark Calloway isn't the Undertaker, so you can go the opposite end of the world too.
Yeah, but he adopted that in a way that is very much like him. Behind the scenes, he's a very stoic, quiet motherfucker, and if he says something, it means something. And that's kind of what the Undertaker is.
No, you're right. And the closest the character of the Undertaker was ever to Mark Calloway was actually the American Badass gimmick.
American Badass, which had its shortest run. Yeah, but
had its shortest run, but it was literally Mark Calloway being Mark Calloway.
Yeah, that was the one time he was able to be himself.
That was kind of tight.
The rest of the time, he's himself in costume.
Right.
You know, but it's still kind of the same point. You know, he didn't have the luxury of coming in and be handed the character or creating the character like Stone Cold did, you know, going from the Ringmaster to Stone Cold. But, you know, Ric Flair didn't come in the business that way either. He wanted to be fucking rambling Rusty Rhodes. He wanted to be like Dusty Rhodes' little fucking brother. And Dusty was like, "No, man, you ain't fucking doing that. Be Ric Flair." You know, so.
That's ironic.
Yeah.
Daddy, that's why he is who he is. He's the nature boy.
He was a huge fanboy of Dusty's whenever he first broke into the business. And, like, fucking followed everything Dusty did. That's the reason during the 80s, whenever they did the Flair for the Gold, it was like a 2-year run that they did, culminating in the huge pay-per-view in South Carolina where they were trying to compete with the first WrestleMania. The reason those two worked together so well during the 80s is because whenever Flair broke in, he was a huge mark for Dusty. And Dusty, like, fucking put all kinds of knowledge on him. So whenever they did get to have that chance to wrestle as the main event of those cards, they knew each other backwards and forwards. If you watch all of those matches from the, it's like 130 matches they did before the pay-per-view. It's like 130 matches they did before the pay-per-view. There's a few spots that are changed. There's a few turns that are changed. There's a few finishes that are changed. But every match is almost exactly identical because they knew each other so fucking well. If a spot didn't go well, the recovery was exactly the same as it was 10 matches ago. Like, that is like wrestling history 101. For anybody who's breaking it, all of these new guys, if they don't know that story or they don't know those matches inside and out, they're never gonna fucking make it. I promise you.
Oh, when I was a trainer, I used to tell people to one of the best matches to watch. You know, especially when I was talking about like chaining and how important chaining was. I would tell them to watch WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart.
Best matches of
all time. Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
25 minutes, not one bump was made. It was all chain work, and they kept the crowd involved. You could tell the story with chain work.
It was all catch, and it was all chain, and it was like fucking just beautiful. That's one of the most beautifully wrestled matches of modern times, of the WrestleMania era at least. You know, that's probably one of the 5 best technically performed matches there ever was.
You know, and you know, like what I used to tell the same thing to people about, like tag teams, when because that's a lost art, and that's something we could talk about is tag teams. Is it really? Though? Is it really? It's still 2 individuals tagging together as opposed to an actual cohesive unit team.
Locally, a lot of our tag teams are permanently together. That's how they work. My what I like to call my boys is a tag team that's always together. That at local circuits they're doing tag team.
Well, I know that. I mean, like, but understand what I mean. Like, even in the big time, in the E and the AWE or AEW, whatever, you know, Impact, you don't get the Road Warriors. You don't get Demolition. You don't get the Brain Busters. You get Cody Rhodes you get Cody Rhodes.
Name the last tag team you saw that was like the Midnight Express or Rock and Roll Express. Name a tag team who's like them. Recently.
Well, there's a reason why I don't watch the national. I stay with the local because the local's more entertaining.
Well, the last.
I'm gonna say in defense though of AEW though. What about Private Party, the Young Bucks? You got Dark Order, aka they used to be called the Super Smash Bros. You got the Lucha Bros from AAA. I mean, there are tag teams they're really trying to bring back the tag team scene.
Well, good. I hope they do.
Yeah, the Young Bucks are the closest to like the classic Midnight Express or Rock and Roll Express. They're the closest thing to that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, bring back the colossalness of the tag team divisions, where you had so many different teams. Like the Hollywood Blondes, fucking DX, the Rockers, fucking the Hart Foundation. Like, this was the golden age of tag team, and I think that's a lost art. I'm glad AEW's looking at it. I know the independent circuit's trying to do it or trying to keep it alive, but it really is a lost art in the mainstream that needs to come back. And I don't mean just throwing two people together as a tag team in a division. I mean, gimmicks look alike. They work cohesively. They have one name for the fucking team, not Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. It's Cold Heart. Just for the sake of argument, that's the team's name, Cold Heart.
I think the best way to describe what you're.
There's the Best Friends. If you go to Japan, they got Roppongi 3K out there. Of course, the Golden Lovers were a popular tag team before they split up. Motor Machine, the Murder City Machine Guns, or the Motor City Machine Guns. There's one I love that's called the Death Threat Army. That's actually independent. I mean, there's some motherfucking tag teams out here.
There is, but again, I'm talking to the mainstream. I'm talking to the mainstream more than the independents.
That's more WWE. Stuff. The WWE, they got tag teams, but they keep on fucking it up. I put like random tag teams together to headline the fucking show instead of actually letting these tag teams actually put in work. Like, for instance, here's a good example. Like, for instance, they got Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly in NXT, right? They're in the independent scene. They're known as Red Dragon. They're a good example of a good tag team that they've actually kept together. I will say that.
All right, fair enough. Well, let me ask you this.
To describe what Chris is.
Go ahead, Rudder. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Because he was trying to get that point across, and I keep interrupting him. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the best way to get the point across on what you're talking about is there was a time that the only way to be an independent or a singles star was you had to succeed as a tag team guy, and you had to be part of a tag team, and that's how single stars got their launch. Like Shawn Michaels, like Bret Hart, Ric Flair. Whenever he first came up, he was a tag team wrestler. Him and Kim Patera, they wrestled together in the old AWA. They were a powerhouse team. They were like power bodybuilder, powerlifter guys. There's so many of these. That's like a bygone thing where now they take single stars and make a good combination out of it. It used to be the other way around. To become a single star, you had to be a good tag team wrestler.
I mean, I would say people that basically still follow that in a way just because of the fact they had to prove themselves. I mean, Jeff Hardy, he had to prove himself to be a solo champion. Yes, we know he's fucked up a lot. We know Jeff Hardy has a problem. But he's a good example of being a tag for so long. Same thing with Love Ray from the Dudley Boys. He's actually a world champion in other promotions as Bully Ray. So I mean, there's still key guys that did it. I mean, Sting was with the Blade Runners with Ultimate Warrior at one point. So I mean, there were mugs that come from that old school that actually did have a successful career being single stars, but that took them. Yeah, I agree, becoming a tag team player first.
Well, I got a question, and you Rudder, you brought it up yourself, and I'm going to pitch it to everybody here. I want to get everybody's opinion on it. I myself have even been a part of this with Youth Gone Wild. We were a tag team, and then later on we wound up becoming a 6-man team. And we were 6-man champions for AWFR, which is America's Wrestling Fundraisers. Should there be a return to, in all formats, whether it's the mainstream down to the independents, a return of the 6-man circuit?
Yes. I mean, Ring of Honor still has 6-man titles. The only team that I've seen that's legitimately a good 6-man team though is Villain Enterprises.
All right.
That's the last legitimate team besides the Elite with Cody and them. That was they're the only team I've seen right now that has the trios tag titles that makes it believable that they're a cohesive 6-man. And that's with PCO, Marty Scurll, and I think Flip Gordon.
All right, so that's Anthony. Anybody else?
outside of the Fabulous Freebirds, name a great six-man tag group.
Youth Gone Wild.
New Day's a 3-man, not a 6-man.
Well, yeah, but they're called a six-man because it's a 3-man tag team.
Yeah, six man means 3-on-3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
was going to say locally we have that, and it's actually a good time to watch.
Oh yeah, I love watching 6-man matches.
If they do it well, it is definitely a great show. Like the Fabulous Freebirds, they were the greatest show in the fucking world. Like Michael Hayes, he sold out the fucking New Orleans Superdome whenever he was 19 with Gordy and fucking what's his face. I mean, those guys, like, you couldn't beat that show. But like, there's two people that you're able to. There's two groups that you're able to name now that maybe are in the same stratosphere as the Fabulous Freebirds.
Oh, nobody's in the same stratosphere. That's like saying name a band that's as close to Led Zeppelin. You'll never do it because nobody's close to Led Zeppelin. Nobody's close to the Freebirds.
But I think that's the answer to the question.
I'll throw you Pink Floyd. I'm just playing.
I love Floyd, but go ahead.
I'm just kidding.
I would probably say, really honestly, the only 6-man team I know is the New Day.
Right, but we're not talking about the teams you know. We're saying should there be a resurgence of the 6-man division? From independent circuit to the mainstream, should there be a return of the 6-man division? Bring back a 6-man tag team title.
I say yeah. I say yes, for if nothing else, to give the New Day more people to fight.
That's the problem. That's the reason you can't bring it back as like a main event thing. Like, how many people can New Day beat up as a 6-man? Like, there's not that many groups you could put together without emptying the roster and then beating everyone.
Well, can we be real for a minute? Can we be real about the New Day for a minute? If a 6-man division came around and they started putting together decent 6-man teams, New Day would become the jobbing joke, like they were originally intended to be.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, they were originally intended to be that.
But that's just it, though. You think about it, though. If you've seen some of their matches, especially like the Usos or something, man. Like,
dude, I don't care if the New Day wins. They're just entertaining.
I'm not saying they're not entertaining. I'm saying if you're building a division just to give the New Day somebody to beat up on, it's going to backfire. New Day's going to become the jobbers. Because they're an entertaining comedy gimmick. They were never really intended to be a serious thing.
But that's just it, though. You got to realize, though, one thing I like about them is they can switch it up. They'll be goofy as fuck in their promos, right? But at the same time, you've also seen them beat the fuck out of people too, and really let them have it.
True that.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if you put the New Day. Let me throw this as an example. I know it's two different generations, but let me throw this as an example. If you were to throw in a 6-man match of New Day versus Demolition.
Okay, that's just not fucking fair, sir.
That's my point.
That's the point. Yeah.
That's just a whole different era.
I think actually to Stoley's point is if you were going to try to build a division, making New Day the jobbers is actually the way to do it. That's the work.
They got Lucha House Party for that. Leave New Day alone.
Lucha House Party. I forgot that they're even a thing.
I'm
just saying,
guys, though, because they are so dope. They were so dope in Mexico on the Independence. This is really fucking up the fucking Lucha Libre guys right now.
I'm just saying, the day New Day walked out to the Dragon Zord theme, they had me sold.
The fact that they walked out in fucking Dragon Ball Z gear out of a big studio, that I was like.
All right, well let me
for any of you that are generational like wrestling fans, like if you're legacy fans and you know wrestling history from the 80s and whatnot, like do you think it's any coincidence that the New Day's booking agent was actually Michael P.S. Hayes whenever they first started?
Was it really? I didn't know that. That's entertaining.
Yes, that is a fact. So I think that it took a master to be able to create something in a different mold that's basically a replica of what he did in the 70s and 80s, just in a new format. And he tried it several different times. That's what Edge and Christian were whenever they first came out with the Brood. That was Michael P.S. Hayes trying to create another Freebirds unit. And, obviously the Brood didn't work out, but Edge and Christian survived. And the New Day was another iteration of that. And those were all driven by Michael PSA.
I want to say this, though, to the Brood. Gangrel is one of the most underrated fucking wrestlers ever.
No, not really. He was underrated in WWE, but Vampire Warrior in the independent circuits and shit was a beast. He was loved.
And I'm not gonna lie, he does a mean tiger suplex. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like the man,
he's a hell of a worker, man. Period. He had a lot of respect from all the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Just the gimmick didn't go over.
Look, Gangrel was a joke in the WWE because Vince McMahon didn't know how to use him. Vampire Warrior was a fucking beast in the indie circuit. Nobody would say he was ever underrated.
Well, shit, I feel like he's very underrated. Because, this is coming from me as a young kid. I didn't get the gimmick at first. And then I thought about it as I got older. I was just like, you know what? That motherfucker could go in the motherfucking ring. What the fuck was this doing?
Yeah, and that's just another example of a lot of mishandled talents that Vince McMahon has done. Whenever Ohio Valley Wrestling first brought out Batista as the Leviathan, that gimmick was unstoppable. And then they bring him in, and they feel the need to pair him up with Ric Flair and Triple H. He didn't need any of that fucking shit as the Leviathan. As the Leviathan, he would have came in and fucking mopped the deck with Ric Flair and Triple H. But they paired him up with it, and it immediately fucking weakened him, and it gave him like a really fucked up gimmick that it drove him out of the company. At the end of it, he just wasn't able to do it anymore. He was tired of it.
I don't know. I'm not going to say Evolution was fucking cool, though. I thought it was
cool if you didn't know him as Leviathan, and it was cool if you didn't ever see the Four Horsemen.
Well, I mean, I loved it because, I watched OVW, Saturday nights and shit. So, I knew who the fuck he was. Hell, I knew who John Cena was. He was a prototype. Before,
he was a fucking cruiserweight. Let me ruin hearts of Cena fans. He was a cruiserweight. That boy wore a yellow fucking singlet and flew off the fucking rope like a Mexican jumping bean. He used to have talent.
Oh, yeah.
That's what years of high-quality Mexican supplements do for you.
That's it.
John used to be able to do lucha libre, technical wrestling. I remember watching an old Sunday Night Heat match with him. That motherfucker was actually doing technical wrestling. I was like, where the fuck is this Cena?
Does he count as a Marvel Cinematic Universe career redemption?
Yes.
Not yet, but he might.
I think he's sort of because of what happened with the Bray Wyatt Funhouse match on Sunday. I think Bray Wyatt won.
So I think you're actually hitting on something there. I think Bray is like the current rendition of Vince McMahon fucking up a talent. He's lost his way completely with what to do with Bray. And The Fiend is a very cool thing. Doing the Funhouse thing is so fucking stupid, but The Fiend rocks.
See, you bring up a great point when we were talking about the six-man. When we were talking about the six-man, I was trying to think of Bray Wyatt and his family mentality when he had
the family.
Yeah. The other two with the fucking goat mask and shit. They would have been stomping the shit out of New Day.
I don't understand. That's just it, though. They had a few in New Day, and they actually did kick New Day's ass. They had basically a best of 5 for a couple months.
And that's where the business has changed. That goes back to my previous point of back in the day, you had to establish yourself as a tag team star to get a shot to be a single. And nowadays, Vince McMahon is using the tag team setup as a vehicle to establish a single star. And the entire time that Bray and the family were together and they were whipping New Day's ass, and anybody else they put in front of them, Vince could not wait to make Bray a single star. So they completely broke it up, and they didn't let it really have its natural run. They could have had the title 2 or 3 times, had huge feuds that finished at WrestleMania, and then break out Bray as a single star. But he couldn't fucking wait. So it's another example of him fucking up a good talent. And now Bray's going to put 5 years in limbo.
Well, here's a perfect example of it. And it's another 6-man team that would have dominated the shit, and New Day wouldn't have existed if the 6-man division was around, and you had Bray Wyatt's family versus the Shield.
Game
That match, though.
on.
They did have that feud, though. That was a fun.
Yes, they did.
But that was
They
the
did.
second rendition of the Shield, not the first.
I'm talking the original rendition. I'm talking the original rendition of the Shield, the ultimate badasses that just appeared out of the crowd out of nowhere. You would and again, what the Shield is a perfect example of what Chris is talking about, where Vince rushes out talent to be singles. Look at how Roman Reigns' career is now. But nobody had an issue with Roman during the Shield era because the Shield was a dominating force. Now, you create a division around that dominating force, and you give them a feud of like somebody like Bray Wyatt's family, your division's set. I'm sorry, there's no room for New Day. And that's the truth. I'm not saying, again, this is not knocking the guys in New Day. This is not knocking their talent. It's just, you got those two powerhouses, New Day's number 3 all day.
I am going to say this, though, because like one thing the Shield has over New Day is everybody on that team is a Triple Crown champion. In one way or another. Like, everybody's a Triple.
And that's just placement and politics to an extent. That's placement and politics to an extent. But you do have a point because they were all looked at as such single stars with potential that they got given the Triple Crown. Whenever Vince puts you over and puts a strap on you, that's acknowledging your talent and your potential more than anything else. So the fact that all 4 of them got the Triple Crown and only one person in New Day has tells you a lot about what Vince thinks.
Yeah, I think they need to give Xavier Woods like
and it screams
shot.
It screams extra volume that it was Kofi Kingston that got put over from the New Day for it, because Vince loves his big guys. If anybody would have been put over in a New Day in typical Vince fashion, it would have been Big E.
It would have been Big
So
E.
I think there's a lot of things playing a part in that. You're making a move to have an African American champion, so it has to break the mold, kind of. So
Right.
that's the reason he went with him. But I think,
oh my God,
that's the reason he went away from the big guy, because Big E obviously would be his natural.
See, I kind of argued that Kofi
But
was
if
the
you're gonna
first
break
African American.
No,
I
he
kind
was
of
the first African American
No.
champion. 'Cause he was
no,
born
but
in
for WWE, because Dwayne is part black, Dwayne The Rock.
No, African.
You guys are forgetting Tony
No,
Atlas.
no. I'm saying he's the first African-born champion. He was born in Africa. That's his.
Yeah, he is actually
Yeah,
African. Yeah,
African-born.
that's right. And
But
but
put it wrong.
Xavier is actually the one guy who's like the real hardcore wrestling traditionalist out of the entire group. And it's funny how he's so overlooked and never gets any single shine, because he's the one guy who does love kayfabe. He's the one guy who does love the old traditions. He's the guy who came up the hard way and the long way. And the other guys were put on. So it's kind of weird there, but I think he had to go with Kofi because he was breaking the mold, so to speak. So he had to choose somebody, and it was right on the heels of Daniel Bryan, who was a small champ too.
I mean, I would say this too, because like Xavier Woods is actually one of the reasons why Kofi got his WrestleMania moment. Kofi, when it comes down to it, Xavier is actually the brains behind the New Day. Like, he literally put his career on the line. If they could not pull this shit off, he said, "You can fire me."
Did you know that?
Yeah,
Did you know that
100%
Xavier
right.
Woods is actually the only PhD to ever have wrestled in the WWE? He legitimately has a PhD.
Incorrect. George the Animal Steel has a PhD in psychology.
Get the fuck out of here, George the Animal Steel!
Yes, he does.
But what's the other one's
I
PhD?
thought he had
What's the other one
a
got
master's.
PhD?
I didn't know he had the PhD. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Now, when he was wrestling, maybe he only had a master's, but when he was in the independent circuit, when I met him in GWA, he had his full PhD. And it blew my fucking mind that George the Animal Steel was more intelligent than I could ever be.
George the Animal Steel is like a greatly
a lot of motherfuckers are very educated,
intellectual person, man. He's actually a mastermind kind of guy.
He is.
Like whenever he was working in the WWE, he actually was sitting in on a lot of the sessions with Vince and the Stooges whenever they were setting up, all the booking. George was involved with some of that stuff during the 80s. He's one of the guys that helped put together the Hulk Hogan Bob Backlund thing. George was part of that. He wrote that book.
Fucking love Bob Backlund.
Actually, I've got another six-man team for
So,
everybody, but we still got to get back to getting everybody else's opinion about the six-mans too. But I got another six-man team for you that would have dominated had they been around today to do it, because they were dominating back in the day. Triple threat.
Michael Nakazawa, George Cassidy, and Joey Ryan.
Okay. But like I said, triple threat.
Who?
Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, and fucking Justin Incredible.
That would be very good, but I have one that's a little bit better for you, and it's more old school.
Go ahead.
Jerry Lawler, Austin Idol, and Jimmy Valiant.
There you go.
Okay, that's fucking star power.
Now, do all of you know who Austin Idol is?
I know the name. I don't
No,
remember
I
the
can't say
character.
I
I don't know any of these
Okay,
people.
so one of the things that's very misunderstood nowadays, and like old school, like I'm older than you are, Chris, and
Not by
people
much.
who are like, not by a whole lot, but like I've been around wrestling. Like my friends, they owned the Coliseum where Jerry Lawler and all the guys came in, and I was going backstage with those guys from the time I was 8 years old and up. So Austin Idol, if you pull up his Memphis Days promos and then pull up The Rock, whenever he was the People's Champion, and play them side by side, you will now know where The Rock came up with that persona. Oh, it's a direct play off of Austin Idol. How he talked, how he did his promos, how he worked in the ring. Because Rocky, his dad, Rocky Johnson, wrestled in Memphis for years. So Rocky knew Austin Idol while he was growing up, and he thought Austin the Heartthrob was the baddest motherfucker to ever walk the planet. He thought he was better than Flair, and he worshipped Austin Idol. And whenever you look at his transformation, whenever he goes to becoming the People's Champ, and you look at the old promos of Austin Idol, you'll see a white version and a darker version of the exact same fucking character.
Well, let me blow the marks into Smark's minds here for a minute, and just remind them that everybody within the wrestling business, every single person, well, with the exception of maybe Sid Moody, every single person within the wrestling business is a mark. We were all fans of pro wrestling at some point.
All fans. Everybody was a mark to begin with.
We all had at least one guy that we grew up watching that was the inspiration for the character we would become and the in-ring persona that we would become in some way, shape, or form. Myself, I can tell you right now, Chris Jericho, Rob Van Dam, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels created Matt Wild. He was completely based on those four people. And everybody else has that same person. There is nothing new in the wrestling industry because all of us are trying to be like the people we admired growing up.
True.
Yep, agree with that 100%.
I mean, this is Anthony Anthem. Anthony Anthem has been known to be one of the greatest to ever step into the podcast world. Some people understand that they could not lace up the size 15 boots that I wear every day when I go into this arena. That is why you will always smell what Anthem is cooking.
Oh, jeez.
That went horribly wrong.
Okay,
horribly
This is the, Anthony just became one of those people that we would never allow to have the stick. You get a manager just so you don't talk. You become fucking fuck what the fuck was his name? Black dude with the moon on his fucking stomach and the stars on his tits.
Yeah, the great
Kamala, the great Kamala.
You become Umaga or Kamala. Yeah, he was a Memphis starter actually too, and yeah.
It doesn't matter who the hell you're talking about.
You get a handler, Anthony. You get Mr. Fuji.
You know what? Oh, I love Mr. Fuji. Fuck you.
You don't get the stick no more. You get somebody else. You get Harvey Whippleman.
Oh Jesus!
God damn it! I am getting Jimmy Hart. Damn it!
See, I could have.
I need that.
Did you know that until like 2002 or whatever, Jimmy Hart wrote and composed most of the entry music for like 90% of the WWE stars?
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Makes sense. He's talented. Greatness.
Heartbreak Kid, Bret Hart, all of that stuff he did.
Because he's Jimmy Hart.
Oh man.
Amazing.
So anyway, Dusty and UA, you guys still have to weigh in on the 6-man debacle.
I weighed in first. I weighed in first.
Dusty, go ahead.
But I did weigh in first. I said that's one of my favorite things that they do locally. It's when they do the 9-man I get turned off.
Right, but the question was, should there be a resurgence even in the mainstream of a 6-man division?
I say so. If it's this much fun in the non-mainstream, why not have it in the big one?
All right.
That's fair.
Don't do 9-man. I hate 9-man.
No, now you're just creating battle royals.
That's what happened.
Exactly.
The last one we had was 9-man, and it was just too confusing. I went to the bathroom.
I think
in
a
the old
resurgence.
days they called that a Texas Tornado 6-man death match.
I don't know. Is there anything else we could do for a fucking death match? I literally saw a fucking GCW death match that was in Japan just a couple months ago, where these motherfuckers took a whole bunch of sashimi knives, stuck them on a board, and then body slam one of the Japanese wrestlers onto the fucking board with the sashimi knives, and I literally saw his fucking skin accordion.
Hey, Anthony, what's going on with your mic, bro?
That's a good question.
He was sitting on it again.
I literally, yeah, so that way you can get the crack of my ass. Anyway,
so you can hear him talking shit.
I saw somebody put boards down, put a whole bunch of sashimi knives together, glue it onto the fucking board, then fucking sidewalk slam the fucking Japanese dude on it from Big Japan Wrestling. I saw his fucking skin accordion. I was like, okay, we're going too fucking far with these death matches.
Yeah.
I've said that for a while, dude. Like, I stopped doing hardcore because it was getting out of control. And this is coming from a guy who used to light his arm on fire to... this is a guy who used to light his arm on fire to give a flying clothesline. You know? It was an elbow pad, but still. You know? And...
Elbow pads are expensive. I don't know how you did that every fucking time.
No, it was very simple. I put an elbow pad on. I had an elbow pad on through the whole entire match, and I would grab lighter fluid and get the inner crook of my arm wet with the lighter fluid, light it up, and then when I went to give the clothesline, of course, the fire's behind my arm, right? So it never touches my opponent, and it's not touching me, but I had to be fast enough that as soon as I lit it, I come off, give the clothesline, and then pull the fucking arm pad off before it burns through the arm pad and starts actually burning me. That was the key.
Arm pads did you know for actually got expensive, didn't it?
It got expensive, yeah.
It had to get expensive. The arm pads have never been cheap.
Yeah, it got a little expensive.
He would have pad every fucking week. No, your ass is going through several pads a fucking weekend doing that shit.
No, that was only for hardcore matches. I didn't do it all the time, but I mean, even sitting back now, like back then, I cared about the holy shit chant. So right on, let's do it. Sitting back on it now, it's like that was a really dumb fucking idea for $25. You know what I mean?
It's like, yeah, let me just go ahead and throw away part of my fucking paycheck to go ahead and do this shit.
And I think that's where hardcore's gone. Is everybody's trying to beat ECW in the American circuits, and everybody else is trying to keep up with fucking Kings to the Death Match back in the day. Dory Funk and fucking Cactus Jack and
Jack, losing your fucking ear. Yeah.
Trying to keep up with that shit that has just escalated the fuck out of it. I won't.
ECW always trying to work their high spots every single show. Like, how can you come back and do it again whenever you dove off the third balcony onto a table? How can you come back next week and do it again or top that? Or how can anybody else who follows you on the card follow that, actually? Whenever you're doing that from the second match to the mid card, what's the main event supposed to do? That was a horrible precedent, and I think that's why part of the reason ECW lost its steam so quickly.
Well,
Can we talk about the fact that the scaffolding match with New Jack and I forgot who the other fucking person was?
well, anything with New Jack was dangerous.
Yeah, he was a legitimate killer, man.
That's what I'm saying. He was one of the most dangerous. I was looking into the Dark Side of the Ring series. I've been watching the shit, right?
Oh, on YouTube?
Who the fuck thought of that shit?
On YouTube, the Vice thing, Dark Side of the Ring.
So to
I just
answer
watched
Anthony's question-
fucking Chris Benoit's shit. That was fucking dark as shit.
That's really dark as
I
fuck. But
cried during the Benoit shit. I ain't gonna even say. I cried like a bitch, man.
to answer Anthony's question, where did the scaffolding match come from? Is that what you're asking?
Who the fuck came up with that dangerous ass match?
Jerry Lawler and Cornette came up with that. Whenever the Midnight Express was wrestling in Memphis, they came up with the scaffold match that Jim Cornette was supposed to end up on. And one of the other iterations of it was whenever Jerry Lawler broke Paul E. Dangerously's jaw because he did not work the finish. He was supposed to drop off the scaffold. But that match actually originated in Memphis. It's had a few different iterations of it. The first one was with Jerry Lawler and Jackie Fargo in 1974.
Damn, you just got schooled, son.
I got all kinds of knowledge on this, bro.
I didn't even know where the fuck the match came from. That shit looked so fucking dangerous. And when I saw the New Jack match,
Jim Cornette blew out both of his knees, dropping from that at the Chi-Town Street Fight. I think this was in 1987 or 88. The Road Warriors versus the Midnight Express. The gimmick was he was going to hang from the scaffolding and drop. And if they lost the match with him dropping off the scaffold, he was supposed to have his head shaved. And they did not realize that the scaffold was so much higher than what Jim Cornette thought it was going to be whenever he agreed to do the work. He blew out both of his knees. Like Cornette has never been the same ever since.
Was there even any tables or anything? Oh, they weren't even doing tables back then.
No, it was like an actual construction site scaffolding setup that they had set up in the middle of the ring.
See, you motherfucking wrestlers be doing some dangerous shit sometimes. I don't understand y'all motherfuckers sometimes. I understand y'all be trying to get famous and shit, but motherfuckers, can't y'all just like...
Man, it's all about the ring rats and the merch, man. That's all that matters.
But you know what's funny?
Too.
You know what's funny about it, though, is all the high spots that you're talking about, and again, I'll use my own career as an example. All the high spots and shit like that, like a tables match, people have escalated it so far out of the way that it's actually reverted on itself that you could have a tables match. Like, you can go on YouTube right now and see me defending my interregional title in RMCW against Rob Risen in a tables match. And it's a 15, 16-minute match. You only see the table for 4 minutes out of that match. We didn't bring it in. We had a normal wrestling match, and people appreciated that. The table didn't come in until it was time to false end the match to the final ending of the match. We didn't have to go out of control.
You're working to finish with the table, but the rest of it's an actual job. Yeah, that's good.
You know, and I think wrestling's starting to realize that, and even in the independent circuits where people want to do hardcore, but the hardcore, like, first off, the idea of hardcore for the sake of hardcore is stupid. Okay, it worked for ECW because it was new and original when ECW. It worked for ECW when ECW first came out because ECW was new and original. It was something different. But in the normal fields, it's got to be a slow burn story that leads up to this being the finale. The final match in a feud should be a hardcore match because that's where you tried every other means, and now it's just you got to bloody the shit out of each other. That's how hardcore should be used.
Whether it's the cage or whatever. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I see that.
I agree.
You know,
less is more, and that is definitely true with wrestling, and hopefully it's something that they find again. But the beauty of a backdrop, or even a sunset flip, or an arm drag, the beauty of that actually being worked technically right and working as chain and catch wrestling the way it's supposed to be done, a 15-minute match having 25 sets of moves in it, instead of 10 high spots, whenever we get back to the 25 sets of moves instead of all high spots, it's going to be a much better show. And that's something maybe Ring of Honor is hanging on to, and AEW is to a very small extent because, Cody and, he's very grandiose with what he's doing, but they have the potential to do it way more than WWE. They're never going to be able to get back to that. That's so far gone for them. It's all showbiz. But Ring of Honor and AEW, they have the potential to get there again, and the fans will not revolt. They will not lose fans over it because it's a much more beautiful match. It's more well worked. It's a lot more whatever the word is. It's just a lot more better to watch. It just really is whenever you have a scientifically executed match that's chain after chain after chain instead of high spot after high spot, because you can't do that all the time without everybody seeing through it.
Right. And again, you're losing the aspect of what the move or the story means when you're doing high spot after high spot after high spot. If everybody does a leg drop, why is Hogan's the one that's the special one? Is the mentality?
Why is it still a finisher?
Yeah,
exactly,
it's going back to a previous conversation that we had during, I think, the last episode of this, of some people's signature moves. The signature move is supposed to be the end of the match. It's supposed to be something grand. It's supposed to be something that not everyone is able to do. What the hell was so impressive about Hulk Hogan's goddamn leg drop?
Well, that's the same mentality for storytelling within the ring. If you're going to high spot after high spot after high spot, why is yours special then to everybody else's? If I finish with
you lose the momentum.
Exactly. If I'm finishing my feud with UA with a hardcore match, and Rudder is a hardcore wrestler, and that's all he does, every match he does is hardcore, what makes it special that we're finishing our feud that way? It's commonplace.
That's just it.
Yeah, it becomes commonplace. It ruins the art of wrestling. It ruins the kayfabe of wrestling. Because and it's hard.
And that's something that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say because the true art of pro wrestling is that at its core, it's supposed to be a sport. Whether you want to argue the point of whether it's a legitimate sport or whatever, it's supposed to be perceived as a sport. So to get true violence into what's supposed to be a competitive sport, it should be saved for the ending of a story, not throughout the story itself. Go ahead.
And that's one of the reasons why. Go on. I'll let Rudder speak.
Yeah.
No, bro, go ahead.
See, that's something that actually really pisses me off about WWE, because they, once upon a time, when I first started watching it in the mid-2000s, they did all those things. They used the big matches to finish off a goddamn rivalry, and they let that be. Now, they've got, 4 pay-per-views for these big matches? Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, Extreme Rules. And
there's actually 13 pay-per-views. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, guys, you're taking the grandness of these matches and watering them down so terribly that it's like watching just another match. And they're not even utilizing these matches to their full ability.
Yeah, the original vision of WrestleMania and Clash of the Champions. Those are the two granddaddies of pay-per-views. That was the WCW or NWA's version of WrestleMania was Clash of the Champions. Mm-hmm. The purpose of that, through the 80s and up until like 91, the purpose of those two shows was exclusively to finish feuds. You were gonna showcase your best matches, your best workers, and that was where you're gonna settle the score at. Those two pay-per-views. That was the vision of both of those, and then they, to one up each other, and because of box office, and because of money, they added a pay-per-view here, added a pay-per-view there, and then you go through the 90s in the Attitude Era, whenever Vince gobbles up WCW. Now you have all of these pay-per-views that have to be paid homage to an extent. So you have 13 pay-per-views just with the WWE. That doesn't include AEW and Ring of Honor's 3 pay-per-views a year. You know, I mean, there's like 20 some odd pay-per-views a year now with major wrestling, and it used to be only one to settle all scores. That was the original point of WrestleMania. That's what Vince's original version was, and he got away from that so goddamn quickly. It was crazy because he was trying to outcompete Jim Crockett and Ted Turner.
I will tell you what's majorly missing within the WWE, but within mainstream wrestling in general, and it was beneficial to independent circuit guys as well as the top tier superstars. They used to have shows on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings called WWE or WWF Challenge and WWF Superstars, and all it was the mainstay wrestlers. Talent taking on independent circuit guys who would go out and job. They got exposure, your big guys got built up, and you were able to promote your story with stick work, with promo work for an hour. It benefited everybody, and it made room in the major shows like Raw, like SmackDown, like the pay-per-views for just wrestling. It's time to shut up and do the work. I think that's especially a lost art.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, nobody can really work a match without 15 minutes of fucking mic time anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. You get 15 minutes of fucking mic time for a 5-minute match. If that.
Or a run-in.
The matches nowadays are so short, it's like, okay, you're spending all this time trying to hype up a story, and I get that. You need to do that. But for God's sake, this is supposed to be wrestling. Let's see some fucking wrestling.
No,
years ago was the worst.
Absolutely right.
Of that they went through that about 3 to 5 year period of time. We're on a 2-hour edition of Raw. They literally only had 23 minutes of wrestling on one episode.
Exactly.
In 2 hours.
Oh my God.
And it worked like that for like 3 to 5 years.
And here's the thing that I don't think Vince is fully grasping.
How did they not lose their fan base?
Oh, they have been.
Because of kids. You never lose your fan base if you keep kids involved.
Very true.
Exactly. But
Kids
it's
are
like,
money makers. Those are the ones that I'm getting the T-shirts. But like, Mom, I want a T-shirt.
Do you guys remember when Vince decided to make WWE Raw go from a 2-hour show to a 3-hour show?
Yep.
The first or second time?
First time was a hellhole to begin with, but second time as well. But I think at that point, that's the point where Vince completely just lost it. Because 2 hours, perfect amount of time. You were able to run your promos, you got your action in, everyone went home happy. 3 hours, by hour 3, people are already flipping the channel trying to watch something else because they're so sick of it.
Yeah, he's trying to have a pay-per-view every week, basically, with content.
Yeah.
I still stand firm with the independent circuit, and especially with today's modern age. Every independent circuit has a YouTube channel or a website or something like that. Let stick work be on there, and just give us the fucking matches when we pay to come to the show. And if I'm saying that to the independent circuit because the WWE I go back and AEW I go back to what I said before. Have the bullshit shows again where WWE stars take on independent circuit guys and just beat the fuck out of them. There's your format to be able to say, hey, Steve Austin, you see what I just did to this nobody? I'm going to be doing that to you this Sunday. There's your fucking stick and promo time. Now Sunday comes, give me 8 solid matches and everybody shut the fuck up.
Deal.
Georgia wrestling used to be, and that's what WWE was through the Attitude Era, to an extent. Like, they were doing a whole lot more mic time, but they had so many personalities, they had to do it. But, you know, like old Georgia wrestling or old Mid-South wrestling or Memphis wrestling or the old Mid-Atlantic days, like, that's exactly what you got. On Saturday morning, you turned it on, and you got to see your favorite wrestler beat up a scrub for 5 minutes and then come on and talk shit to Ole and Arn Anderson or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's gone completely bye-bye since, like, 98, 99, whenever
like
Stone Cold did the first turn to becoming heel after he came back, whenever he first started doing that and doing the what and all that other stuff, it became a mic show entirely. And like even to an extent now, if you listen to him on his podcast, like Stone Cold would talk about, like, you know, he really regrets doing that because it really turned a new leaf in the pro wrestling industry, that everybody was more caught up in getting their mic time and being good on the mic than actually being a good hand in the ring, which is how he came up. He was awarded the mic time, so he took advantage of it. Because of what he did, everybody thought they should come in the door getting mic time. And that's what they've done now for the past 15 years. These new guys come in, you haven't even seen them wrestle a match. They got a 10-minute intro video, and they come in doing mic time every fucking week for like 3 months before you ever see them wrestle. And it's backwards. It should be the other way around.
Well, you know it's funny when anybody always points to Steve Austin, and of course when they point at Steve Austin, they automatically point at the Stone Cold era. You know, and I got nothing against Stone Cold. I don't have an issue with Steve Austin in general, but his true performances was when he left WCW for ECW, the end of the Hollywood Blonde era.
Oh shit! You talk about when he was straight bald and he was like, he still had a little bit of blonde hair, or whatever. But he was doing promos and shit in ECW.
Yeah, where he was acting like he was Hulk Hogan and shit like that. Like there was some fucking gold in that personality.
Yeah, he really uncovered his character at that point in time because Paul Heyman took the risk. He was like, I'm going to stick it to Bischoff any way I can. And him and Steve knew each other, but he was like, fuck it, Steve, you get 5 minutes every week, which turned into 10, but here's the microphone, just fucking go off, because Steve couldn't wrestle because of his knee. He just had surgery. Mm-hmm. So Paul Heyman was like, fuck it, here's your mic. And he actually, that's how he became Stone Cold later, was because of those interviews that Paul Heyman let him do. He uncovered a true character with that, just being himself.
Mm-hmm. But they were
online. The fact that any like counters with his like shit talking was amazing. I mean, if it wasn't for him doing them promos at ECW, we probably would have never got the. It was like, oh, you want to bring up John 316? Well, Austin 316 just whoop your ass.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Stone Cold was again something. If the character of Stone Cold came out today, I don't think it would be as popular.
No.
But it came out at the right time, right at the beginning of the Attitude Era. The ending of the comic book.
Bro, I'm sorry.
The ending of the comic book wrestler. The beginning of the Attitude Era. It was the right opportunity at the right time.
Yeah, they needed an anti-hero. People were in the
The anti-hero point is definitely a big thing, but what you're talking about is a double-edged sword, because with Stone Cold, there can never be another character who comes out and does the same thing. Ever.
Oh, exactly.
You're never going to be able to do that again, like you said, Chris. But if there wasn't a Stone Cold, if a new guy was to drop in and we never had Stone Cold before, it would be just as effective, I think.
You think
so? Because anytime the blue-collar man gets to see another blue-collar guy stick it to the man and beat up his fucking boss, we all pop.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm talking the persona. I'm talking like let's just use
it again. If you never saw it before and it got dropped in fresh, 100% brand new, you never saw it, Stone Cold never existed, you would pop now just like you did then. It would actually be a rebirth of another WWE Attitude Era. Promise you.
Which desperately needs to happen. Thank you.
That character really gravitates with a lot of people. It really resonates. Like, that's as true of a character as there's ever been.
All right, well, let's get everybody else's opinion on that. Do you think if Stone Cold never existed and he popped up into and a character like Stone Cold's popped into the WWE tonight, would it have the same impact that Steve Austin did when he brought out the character? That's the question. Everybody else, we got Steve. We got Steve. We got Chris in my opinion. Let's get everybody else.
I'm abstaining. I never watched any of the stuff you're talking about, so I'm abstaining.
All right, fair enough.
You know who Stone Cold is, right?
No, I sorry. No, I never followed wrestling.
She She just got introduced to wrestling a couple of months ago, so a lot of what we've been
I'm just
talking
sitting here
about,
quiet for a reason.
I
she's
feel like we've been segregating her from this conversation.
That's okay. You guys are having fun. Enjoy it.
Hey, yo, Chris, I got a question for you.
Well, let's finish my question. Let's finish the question, the round table around the question. Let UA answer, and then you can ask me the question.
Do you mind if I answer the first question that I didn't get to answer first?
Sure. Get your mic time while you got it.
Yay!
You got the stick. It's promo.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Six man's absolutely. Put him back in the independent. Keep him running hard in the independent. Bring him up to the big leagues. Absolutely. The problem with that I see, though, is you have to be able to hit the spot on that very, very carefully, because if you have someone like Vince McMahon still running the ring, I don't think that it's going to work as well, purely because of the fact that, how do I put this? Vince is a dumbass, and he likes to keep stuff the way that he's been keeping it for the last 20-plus years.
I'll disagree with you on Vince being a dumbass. Vince is a maniacal genius that made pro wrestling mainstream. I will never take that away from him. However, his mindset is more entertainment than the sport of wrestling. That's why I think the six-man idea would work better, as Rudder said, in AWE and Impact as opposed to WWE.
Okay, I apologize. I agree with you on that. That's the way I should have phrased that. Teams like the Wyatt family, like the Shield, like New Day, they have popped for a very good reason. And if they had, I agree with what everyone had said earlier, if they had actually ran those teams as a proper three-man team, instead of two people being a tag team and one person being a singles person, but they're all a cohesive unit, I think that we could have easily had a brand new line of tag team competition throughout WWE. Easy, no questions asked. Going to the other question that you just presented, what was it again?
Stone Cold. If Stone Cold were to come out today instead of the Stone Cold persona,
instead of 20 years ago,
right? Would the Stone Cold persona have just as much impact today if it came out today instead of 20+ years ago?
I would say yes. I would say 100% yes. If you did not have the Stone Cold persona during the mid-90s come out when he did, nobody ever did the concept of the blue collar worker going up to the boss, saying "screw you," threw up the middle finger, and slugged him across the face in front of 10,000 fans. I think that pop would be just as strong today, if not stronger.
All right, fair enough. I guess I stand alone on that thought.
I just think that, for someone who's been in the business, like you and I have, and you had a much longer career than I did. I was a horrible hand. I was a horrible worker. We've talked about this before on another episode. That's the reason I was able to really shine in the hook and shoots and actually fight, because I was just such a horrible hand in the ring. But the fact that we're so jaded by being behind the curtain, I think, is what's kind of clouding your vision on this. If we wouldn't have seen that and been a part of it, or been able to ride any of that wave, if that never existed before, if the only main headliner bad guy was Ric Flair that you and I knew, which was all it was before Stone Cold, was Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. That's all you knew as the main headliners. Before Stone Cold, if you erase him from your memory completely, 100% eradicate him from existence, and drop him in now, fresh, day one, turning from the ringmaster to Stone Cold, it would be phenomenal, especially with fucking Trump in office. You're talking about some dude fucking coming up and flipping off the authority now? It would probably be magnified. It would probably be even bigger, like UA said, than it was back then.
All right, well, I'll concede that. I'll concede that a little bit, because I'm still envisioning like wrestling still evolved the way it evolved, even if Stone Cold never pulled out the 316 at King of the Ring.
Which makes it better, because you're talking about an old school throwback. What are we talking about right now with what's wrong with pro wrestling? All the high spots. Stone Cold never did high spots.
True.
So you're talking about a real throwback guy coming in, being, the fucking whatever it's called to the earth, and flipping off Vince McMahon. Right now, Jesus, everybody would lose their minds.
But when you mentioning with Trump, where the fuck is the next Bob Backlund gimmick? We need another over the top Republican gimmick, and I don't mean like Trump supporter. I mean like Backlund losing his mind and deciding he's going to run for president, like he did during the Bush administration gimmick.
What about We the People?
I liked We the People. I very much liked We the People.
It was actually a very good faction. It cracked me the fuck up.
I think there is a rendition of that going on right now. Unfortunately, Colby Covington, that guy was.
I think I'm losing people. I don't hear anything.
Yeah,
I lost him too. I hear everybody else fine, so it might have been him on his end.
Yeah, I think we lost Rudder. Rudder's gone. Bye, Rudder.
I don't know, but sitting here having this conversation, I'm starting to realize maybe there's a place in Realm of the Mist for a wrestling podcast.
Dude, I would be on that every time.
We're going to have to make sure we put a fucking limit, man. We'll be talking for like 6 hours of podcast.
Well, this is a live show. That's why I don't care. But normally there is a limit on shows.
I was gonna say we need a goddamn timer if we're gonna make a podcast out of this.
Okay. Because when it comes down to it, the anthem is not going to be on here more than 5 hours because I'm on the mic for about a good 3 hours.
He's back.
I know.
In the middle of a rant, my internet decided to drop. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
But every time he's on the card, the past 3 cards that he's been on, most specifically the last one, whenever he comes out there in that $3 cheap-ass suit, carrying Donald Trump Jr.'s book and wearing the MAGA hat, everybody lost their fucking minds. So I think there is a rendition of that going on, and Vince always follows the trends. He sees that going on. I'm sure there's a character in development that's going to come out and be that guy.
Well,
some type of caricature.
Yeah, an over-the-top caricature like Bob Backlund was.
I mean, Daniel Bryan kind of did it with the zealous liberal.
But there's not enough people who buy into the eco-warrior thing. Politics is so divisive.
I mean, the wood belt had me cracking the fuck up. I'm sorry, the wood belt was genius.
Yeah, that was a great move, definitely.
That was fucking amazing. Hell, I wish I could have a replica of that fucking belt.
The belt only existed for like 7 months, and it's like one of the most memorable belts of the past 25 years.
God, it's so ugly.
Can we talk about the 3 most memorable unofficial titles?
Unofficial titles, okay.
Okay.
Unofficial. Well, the wood title obviously would be one of them. I would argue
actual straps or titles.
Actual straps / titles. Some may have later became recognized, but when they first came into being, they were not recognized. They were for lack of a better term, they were garbage or they were just a gimmick. The wood title. I would argue the point of the $1 million belt.
Okay.
I wish I could have that one too.
And the original release of the WWE Hardcore title, which was just the old WWE title that was using the gimmick of being broken apart with a hammer.
And then they just put a whole bunch of stickers. And
they put a whole bunch of tape on it to say Hardcore title, yeah.
Sutter.
Pure greatness, though. I ain't gonna sit here a lot. But what about? Oh, you know what? I gotta realize the Ultimate Warrior renditions of the Intercontinental title.
Oh, the white strap.
The white strap, the pink one, the yellow one. He had multiple colors of them bitches. I don't know how he was able to buy them shits every fucking month. He would have like a new color.
Chris, can I make a appeal for one other title being added to that list?
Sure.
What's that?
The Smoking Skull title.
Oh, Austin Smoking Skull title. Yes.
That's that's a rendition of the strap, right? So
Yeah.
like I was thinking of something else. Okay, so if we're talking in that vein, okay, I got you.
Oh wait a minute, what about the Fiend title that was like $4,500 on WWE.com?
Oh my god, that thing was just insane.
It looks fucking cool, but I'm not paying $4,500 for a replica.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the artist. The artist is really good. So I mean, it is worth that much because of the artist who did it.
Well,
But
here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with that title, specifically that title. I've got someone who could probably look at that, come up with the concept for it, and make something similar to that for me for a fraction of the cost. And her name is Dusty. Just let her do plasti dip work, and I guarantee you she's gonna make it look just like that, maybe a little bit better for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I believe it.
So I thought we were talking about like actual made-up titles, not the versions of any of the straps. I go with the Smoking Skull. That was a great like variation of the world title belt. That would, or whenever The Rock had the Brahma Bull one, that's another version of it.
Oh god, I forgot about the Brahma Bull one.
But
Points
as
will
far
be
as
taken away if
made-up-
anybody mentions the fucking spinny belt, though.
God damn it, I want the spinner belt.
if we're gonna talk about a true made up title, going back to the 1980s, whenever Kerry Von Erich was chasing after Ric Flair, Fritz Von Erich, who owned the WCCW at the time, World Class Championship Wrestling out of Dallas, Texas, came up with the Texas Heavyweight World Title, which was the biggest bogus piece of shit just to make it look like Flair was like gaining this double championship whenever Kerry Von Erich was chasing him. That would be my vote for like the biggest made up title ever. Like Fritz Von Erich was like, I got a title for my boy, and my boy ain't gonna lose it to nobody. You can't come to Texas and fucking take this belt from no Von Erich. And here it is, and it's this big fucking plastic piece of shit that he puts on fucking Kerry Von Erich. And it went away very quickly. Like it was only in the circuit magazines for like 2 months. Like they didn't even keep taking pictures with it. It was so bad. But it was definitely a very made up title to make him look like a very big front runner for Ric Flair.
Okay, titles. Let's talk about the fact that the fucking 24/7 title looks like a fucking gold Mario coin strapped on.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, Rob Gronkowski having the 24/7 right now is fucking hilarious.
I still think the greatest 24/7 champion is R-Truth because
Yes.
what he did from pinning motherfuckers on planes and shit was just genius. It was very entertaining.
He's made 2 years. He's made a 2-year extension on his career because of that belt.
Absolutely. And that,
Our
if
Truth comes
anything,
up with
that
a
gave a
fun
nice
shit.
little injection into WWE.
R-Truth
Because-
is comedy gold, man. He's fucking
Good.
awesome.
Good God, yeah.
Everything
I'm
he
the
says is
longest
funny.
reigning European champion in the world. What? Hey yo, y'all remember that Royal Rumble where his crazy ass came out, pulled the ladder up, picked the fucking ladder up, and set up the
Yes.
fucking ladder?
Yes. I just rewatched that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was good.
So hard I cried. I ain't gonna even sit here and fucking lie. It was that fucking funny.
Hold on. I'll one-up you, and it's not our truth. Does anyone remember the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia where Titus O'Neil runs out to the ring, trips, and goes under the ring?
Oh man.
The commentators couldn't even stay on point anymore because they were laughing so hard.
And it's so bad because he was planned to be in the final 3 for the finish, but he fucked it up on the entry so bad they didn't even let him go. He had a false finish in that match just to get him out of the ring because everyone was laughing the whole time he was there. He was supposed to be one of the final 3 whenever you're doing the throw out, and that was part of the plan. But it quickly got scrapped because he fucked up the entry so bad.
Well, let's
And
not.
yet it's something that we can talk about for years to come.
Well, let's not forget. Luke Butch from the Bushwhackers, and his shortest reign for a while. His shortest entrance into Royal Rumble where he was running to the ring, and he was supposed to come into the ring and come bulldozing and clothesline. I forget who it was. And that person legitimately tripped and fell down. And when he tripped and fell down, Luke came with so much force, he threw himself over the top rope.
Threw himself out.
Oh
yeah.
my, that would have been fun to watch.
I forget. It was early 90s, early to mid 90s that he did that. But he was in and out in like 8
I'm
seconds.
thinking it was Tito Santana.
It was.
I'm thinking it was Tito Santana that
It
he
might
did
have
that
been. Yeah.
Wait, the guy from the Bushwhackers?
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
They
If
both
I
look
remember
alike.
correctly, it was. I think it was actually Hogan who eliminated him.
No, I
In that
wasn't.
one, I don't know.
I don't think it was Hogan.
I could be wrong.
I don't remember Hogan actually being in any of the Rumbles.
But we all got to remember, before Santino Marella, there was the Warlord.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking Bushwhacker. I was thinking Warlord. I'm sorry.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
His ass got clotheslined so fast.
Yep.
Hey, yo,
And-
you want to know what one of my favorite broken character moments was? It was when The Rock went against, I forget if it was Goldberg or Brock Lesnar, beat his ass in like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. He was like, The Rock has never gotten his ass whooped so fast in his goddamn life.
So
That was
Brother,
whenever they put Lesnar over, because that was right after Stone Cold took his ball and went home. He didn't want to do the Georgia Dome match with Brock, so they put in The Rock on that following like Monday Night Raw or whatever. They used that to put him over because Lesnar was like a big deal, but he hadn't actually seen anybody yet, and he was supposed to do that main event with Stone Cold, but Stone Cold bailed on it, and they did that with The Rock. Yeah.
God,
So,
you talk about broken gimmicks. All that ever runs to my mind is my own fucking character break. I was a heel at the time, and I was taking on a guy named Mr. 2020 Blind Mike in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I fucking opened his head up with a chair shot for the finish, right? And I mean, he's on the ground bleeding, and understand, Mike is legitimately blind. He can only see 20% of his peripheral vision. He sees shadows out of the corner of his eyes. But he's still an independent professional wrestler, right? I loved working with Mike. But at the time, I have him beat up on the ground, and I'm supposed to be the arrogant fuck. I grab the stick, and I'm yelling about how I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm coming up to him, and I know I got to hurry this up because Mike's fucking bleeding out on the fucking mat, right? And so I come up to him, and I grab him, I try to wake him up, and he's playing it, he's type deal, and I'm like, fucking, I want you to tell everybody that I'm the greatest wrestler that's ever existed, and he, I fucking smack him, and right into the mic, and I mean, there's no hiding this, right into the mic, I turn around and I yell, look at me when I'm talking to you! And then I stop, yes, I stop, and I look at the crowd, and I look at Mike, and I look at the crowd, and I look at Mike, and you hear me in the microphone. I just told a blind guy to look at me.
That's awesome.
You know how lost it was? You know how lost it was? Mike's face down, right? Doing the hiding his face. He's face down, laying on his stomach, and all you see is his shoulders shaking because he's laughing his ass off. Character gone.
Oh my god.
That is good.
So, brother,
Yeah, man.
real quickly, as we were talking about other topics, I actually went on Google real quickly to do a quick confirmation. Warlord was eliminated by Hulk Hogan in the 1989 Royal Rumble.
89. Okay.
89.
All right.
So one of the
Good on
one
you,
of the
man.
first
Yeah.
ones.
Okay, so that has to be like the only Rumble Hogan was in.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because
And
usually
then,
he
of
was the
course-
champion at the time.
And then of course we have Anthony's mention of Santino Marella for 1.5 seconds back in 2009, and he was eliminated by Kane.
And he got a big pop for that 1.5 seconds.
Oh, good God, yes.
He was like, no, I want to start again. Let me do it again.
I like that character. I do like that gimmick. But then again,
Do you like Santino? Do you like Santino or do you like Santina?
Oh, that was funny too.
where he played his twin sister.
I actually saw that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
One of my friends played that video. Actually, it was Patches. Played that video last time he was over just to show me how wrestling can be bad.
But is it really bad? Like, wrestling can be bad. Like, Mae Young giving birth to a hand. That's bad. But like, shitty funny gimmicks. Fucking like Eugene or the pirate gimmick that was going on for a while, or the goon. Those things are comedy gold at times, man. That's not the Hurricane. Dude, Shane Golden owned that fucking gimmick, dude. He or not Shane Golden, Shane Helms.
Shane Helms.
Yeah, Shane Helms. He fucking owned that gimmick. You can't take that away from him.
The Hurricane, he's the shit. But Eugene, he was actually like, that was actually a work.
Oh, I know it was work, but I mean, it was comedy gold.
Yeah, it was totally comedy gold, and they actually tried to like reinvent doing that like organically a couple of other times where they had this big bad, and you can't use this word anymore, so we're going to say socially slow, but this big bad socially slow guy come in who is always like loving the fans and friendly with everybody because he's so innocent. Blah blah blah. But once somebody fucking puts the heat on him, he just goes nuts and boom, it's a pile driver and it's over. Like they tried redoing that a couple different times, but it never really caught on the way it did with Eugene. For some reason, that guy was just able to do that.
I remember the wrestler that you're talking about too, but I can't remember his name.
Oh, okay.
Crap. Nah, I can't even do a Google search on that because it's been so long. But I remember the tag team, and I remember the singles individual who came off exactly like you said. I'm not going to say the word either, and perfectly pacifistic. You wouldn't think anything of it. The second that ring bell hit, though, oh my God, it was like watching the Incredible Hulk.
Oh my God. So Rudder, I think we have to agree that from this has to be born a wrestling show. Because we just spent like 2 hours discussing wrestling.
I can talk obscure old school fucking shit all fucking day long that'll blow a lot of people's mind. That's for sure.
Dusty, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm fine. I almost finished my commission. This is good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, guys. I got something I need to say. Are y'all ready?
Do we have to be?
Yes, especially you with your ugly ass. Anyways, so first things first. I just wanted to say, from the bottom of my heart, guys, I love you. Second thing is, Dusty.
Yeah.
Save me a plate. I'm coming over. Third thing.
Okay.
Third thing. Chris, even though me and you always seem to talk shit, just know, when it comes down to it, you're the homie. But here's another thing I got to say, though. It's now 2020. When are you going to get your hairline fixed? Okay.
Jesus
Christ.
God.
Number 4.
Dude, he looks like one of them socially slow people. He's going to talk about my hairline.
Okay, listen here, motherfucker.
There it is.
You know, like, you got the George Jefferson coming in on your fucking hair. So don't be talking about
George Jefferson?
Alright, Tucker and shit. You're talking about me.
Good God, dude. Like, you could at least gone like Archie Bunkers. George Jefferson? Really?
George Jefferson didn't have a hairline. He had a Kobe cat.
Oh, good God.
Good grief.
Now, fourth thing. Anthony Anthem is always number one. Okay, we're done. Thank you.
I take that as Anthony's way of saying it. We need to wrap this up.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm hot!
It might be best now that I've got my commission as far as I can get it tonight because my hand's starting to hurt.
Stop. Then, yeah, you better stop. Otherwise,
I decided to do it the length of the podcast. It's not my fault.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. If I had found out that your hand was hurting and you were still working, I'm going past the checkpoints to kick your sorry butt.
See, I'm not sure. Either he's trying to say it's time to wrap this up. He's tired, or he's really saying to people, and trying to project on me. He's trying to say to people, please send me Rogaine for Christmas.
Okay, first of all,
with minoxidil.
You're the one who look like alopecia decided to take over and become Appalachia on your fucking head. Don't be talking shit about me, sir.
Dude, your hairline from both ends looks like it's getting eaten by your forehead and your fucking double back neck. You want to talk about me?
You ever had a hairline since you were 21?
Can I make a petition for another podcast? What can we do? Realm of the Mist version of Drop the Mic, Anthony versus Chris. just spend a half hour of them slinging disses towards each other. I would die laughing.
Oh, we want to go dozens. Okay, yeah. Yo, mama so fat.
We're gonna do the dozen. No mamas, man. No mamas.
If me and Chris had a podcast, we would be so banned from podcasting ever again.
Yeah, right.
We would talk so much shit, it would just get really bad. We would just say some of the worst shit to each other. I could just see it. Me and you on a podcast every fucking week. Can you imagine that, Chris?
Oh, trust me, I've got no problem with it. And you gotta remember,
I ain't got no problem with it too, but we gonna get fucking banned. That's what the fuck gonna happen. They gonna be like, we gotta cancel this shit.
You gotta remember, it used to be my job to piss people off.
All I know is I have to get going or I'm going to explode. My bladder has been telling me I need to go.
All right, I think it's time to wrap up then.
Girl, when I talk sometimes, that's what happens. Girls see me when they see me.
Oh, brother.
No, it's called How Many Hours Has This Been? I've been drinking water.
I'm gonna steal Zeph's finisher. And on that note,
there you go. Why don't you guys tell everybody where they can find you and get a hold of you and send Anthem that Rogaine.
Dustin, go first. You can go to the bathroom.
Good idea.
So, motherfucking, I look like I got a patchy garden growing on top of my head, looking like the fucking desert of Arizona and shit.
Dude, if you grabbed your dick and set it next to your head when you bang your head down, it would look like a butt. Okay, don't talk to me.
Okay, first of all,
can I say goodbye and let you guys keep going?
Yes, go, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'm Dusty from The Sock Drawer. You can find us on Facebook at The Sock Drawer, Twitter at The Sock Drawer SD, and any place that the Realm of the Mist people that I'm probably never going to talk to again.
Upload it every time.
It gets worse, though, guys.
You love it.
Be the token female, I tell you. But anyway, next person, and I'm going to disconnect.
You got UA Blackwings here. You can find me as a co-host on Press A Gaming, a guest star on this show, After Hours, occasionally on the Sock Drawer. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube under the handle Joshua Wilson. I'm also on Twitch and Twitter under the handles Blackwings Roman numeral 13. That's XIII. And you can also find me on PlayStation under the same handle, Blackwings Roman numeral 13.
Oh.
Anthem.
Oh, it's me? Okay, so you can find me at Delivery Bros Podcast on Instagram, Delivery Bros Pod on Twitter. You can also find me on Delivery Bros on Facebook as well. And also, if you want to find Chris Razormouth Stoley, you can find him on his OnlyFans, footfetishfreaks.com. By putting in the code IDICKNASS.
Jesus. Can I wake up the rebuttal now? That took forever.
Go ahead.
It's the only reason I'm sticking around. I want to hear what your rebuttal is.
Well, guys, you can find me wherever Realm of the Mist Entertainment can be found, right here on YouTube. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out all the other great podcasts like Press A Gaming, and It Had to Be Said with Venus, and The Sock Drawer. Definitely not the fucking Delivery Brothers, right here on this channel. And
okay, first of all, if you're on a couple episodes, you fuck.
See, I love fucking with Anthony because he gets so mad. Of course, you could go to our sister channel, Sounds Dicey Gaming, for all your tabletop and video game Let's Plays. And if you prefer your podcast in audio-only format, don't worry, we got you covered. Just look for Realm of the Mist Entertainment on Anchor.fm, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Now, when this pandemic is over with, I'm going to go shave a Pomeranian, hand it to Anthony, and make him look like fucking a black Donald Trump. He's going to be good to go.
Okay, first of all, what the fuck does that even mean? Second of all, what are you doing with a Pomeranian? I'm never putting a dog in your ass ever again.
Rudder, do your outro so we can go.
Talk about me.
All right, so check it out. We host the What's Your Effin' Binge podcast. It's available on Spotify and every other place that you can find a good quality podcast, including iTunes, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And what we do is we talk about people's binging habits, what you're currently binge watching on TV. And in this current time, that's a really big topic. Everybody's asking for something to watch, and we got the next one for you. So look at us on Facebook and check it out.
Excellent.
Insatiable by Asa Akira.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next Surviving the Storm. Have a good night.